Here it is. Forward.
Oh, my.
I don't know, I should have offended somebody, but it's the way I roll.
Are you gonna keep track of time? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cause I forgot.
Oh, got my little timer right here.
Sometimes I forget.
Yeah. What about her? Negative.
Starting to warm up here, buddy.
No.
It's freezing here.
Not 19.
Oh, yeah, the last time
We're gonna.
for Grapple Point One, we couldn't hold complete hearing because there were so many people on Zoom.
Now you're changing.
And Kathy's now. Sideboards after the fact.
Oh, did she want?
Never gonna.
Oh, yeah,
Did you get out of the field? Get your first time?
right. Then you're just running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I.
We just did it. So
Goodness, is I.
it could
Only.
Yeah, that's good.
time that I looked at the time and then programmed it.
It wasn't that great either.
Yeah, lots versus parcels. Yeah, you don't do it. They don't care. It's just based on statute.
Okay, so it's a new clock, but it's still wrong.
Probably not right now.
Vice Chair Jakowski, that clock is a minute slow, sorry.
It's slow?
Yeah.
It is now 7 o'clock and I am calling the meeting to order on November 20th, 2025. It's the regular meeting of the Planning Commission and the Committee for Citizen Involvement. And could you please do a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Orsi,
Here.
Commissioner Fidland.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Starbuck is absent. Vice Chair Jakowski,
Here.
Commissioner Norman,
Here.
Commissioner Pressler,
Here.
Commissioner Frey.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the consent agenda, we need to either approve or recommend changes to that. Are there any changes that need to be made? Okay,
I move we approve.
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. Comments from the public of any item not on the agenda limited to 5 minutes each. To comment in person, please sign in and return the form to the clerk. If participating via Zoom, raise your hand at the beginning of the public comment period. Public comments and information provided during the meeting will be collected and retained by the city as a public record in accordance with Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS, Public Records Policy 192.005 to 192.170 and 357.805 to 357.895 with some exceptions. Is there anyone who wants to speak on anything that is not on the agenda?
I have nothing recorded.
Seeing none, We are going to go into our public hearing. Before we start that, I'm going to ask Asal to please listen to our attorney Shayla for a statement about how we are processing this application.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So this type of application is generally processed by the city pursuant to our code as a legislative action. We took a look at that today and took a look at some of the requirements between a legislative action and a quasi judicial. And this meets an interesting gray area. So what staff and I have decided to process this application as is a bit of a hybrid. We are going to allow the record to be left open, which is generally done in a quasi judicial type of process. Essentially, we came to this conclusion because it is one specific applicant with one specific property. It's not necessarily something that encompasses the whole town like a legislative type amendment would. So if there is some confusion, we hope to get you through the process.
Thank you.
I have a question. With the record left open, does that mean public comments will continue?
Yes,
Oral comments for, okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Hey, this item is a public hearing in the matter of public hearing 25-057 Gravel Point Phase 2 application for annexation, comprehensive plan and map amendment and master planned development. This item is a public hearing in the matter of request for a master plan development, annexation, zoning map amendment, and comprehensive plan amendment for tax lots 2500, 2600, 2700 of map 28S-15W-36BA, as well as tax lot 100 of map 28S-15W-36 and tax lot 200 of map 28S-15W-36C. The applicable criteria pertaining to approval of the application are as follows. Abandoned Municipal Code, chapters 16.04.080, type 4 procedures. 16.20 master plan development. 16.32 zone changes and amendments. 16.40 improvements. 17.118 annexation. Open hearing in summarized format. The Planning Commission shall hold a hearing and make a recommendation to the City Council to approve with conditions, or deny the proposed amendments. The City Council may hold a public hearing, and public hearings shall occur in accordance with section 17.120.080. Amendments shall be adopted by ordinance. At this time, I will open the public hearing. A copy of the minutes of this hearing will be available in city offices. A copy of the rules and procedures that I'm reading will be available in the city offices as part of this file. If you wish to speak, please add your name to the testimony sign-up form. As the vice chair, I will recognize you from the form, or when I ask if anyone else wishes to speak. We need to determine how many people are here to testify and may limit individual speaking time to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to speak. This hearing is being recorded. Please speak clearly. Once recognized, please step up to the podium and begin your comments by stating your name and mailing address for the record. We request all testimony be to the point, focusing comments on the relevant issues. To avoid repetitive or redundant testimony, if someone has already testified and made your point, but you still wish to be on record, please simply state that the previous speaker has raised your issue or state the written comment submitted on your card suffice. Testimony, arguments, and evidence in this hearing must be directed toward the applicable criteria of or standards identified in the staff report, or to other criteria in the development code or comprehensive plan that you believe apply to this decision. The application before the commission this evening must be decided based on this criteria. Despite the importance of other issues that may be raised during the public hearing, the authority of the commission is limited only to those issues that address compliance with the applicable criteria. Failure to raise a specific issue to afford the commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issues precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. failure of the applicant to raise specific constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval to allow the city to respond to that issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. A decision may be made by the commission at the close of the hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain in the future. If the matter is reset to a certain date in the future, this will be the only notice of that date you receive. We shall now commence. Do any commissioners wish to disclose any ex parte contact, bias, or conflicts of interest?
I have two things. One is a friend sent me an email about this subject. When I saw what he was about to tell me about, I deleted it and never read it. Turns out he did submit a written comment, so I now have read what he would have said. The other thing is I went to the presentation last night, but I only stayed until the Q&A because I didn't want to get any information that would be ex parte from that. And I didn't learn anything new that I didn't find in the documents.
My wife owns property that's near Carter, and she had submitted a letter regarding her concerns about Carter and this development. And those concerns were adequately addressed to her satisfaction.
I am a neighbor of the proposed Phase 2 project. That's being said, I believe I can be impartial and make decisions only upon what's in the record.
I have nothing.
I also attended the presentation last night and also left before the question and answer period. I've also walked on and by the property a number of times over the years, but there's nothing that I've seen or heard that would cause me to doubt my impartiality in this matter.
I have also attended the meeting last night. I also left before the Q&A because I didn't want to have any conflict of ex parte contact in that regard. I also have walked the property, but it's been a number of years and I don't have any concerns that I would be biased. Okay. What does the staff have to report for the record?
I'm gonna share my, oh, thanks. I am going to share my screen.
You guys are killing me.
Hopefully that works. Okay, great. Planning Commission, it's lovely to see you again. My name is Dana Nichols. I am working for the city currently as a contract planner. And I have prepared an application tonight, reviewing the staff report. I wanted to warn you in advance. I went a little bit out of order from the staff report because I thought it was an easier story to tell if we started at the annexation. And wanted to let you know too that this is the first of at least 2 public hearings for those in the audience. So there's multiple opportunities to review this application. The Planning Commission reviewed Gravel Point Phase 1 last year, which was a conditional use permit to construct a hotel and associated structures. This next phase of development is adjacent to that one and includes housing, retail uses, and a golf amenity. So to start, this application, as you mentioned, includes the annexation of approximately 30 acres in the city's urban growth boundary that we locally know as the Donut Hole. It also includes a comprehensive plan and map amendment for this property and 30 acres north of that, which is just south of City Park. There's also a zoning map assignment. So when you annex property into city limits, that property needs to be assigned city zoning. And then the request is also to amend the adjacent property to have all consistent zoning. And then a master plan development, which we'll go through last in the presentation. And this is a newer item that the Planning Commission and City Council only adopted this past summer. So just to sort of bring you up to speed on the location of where this is, for those of you unfamiliar, you can see here on the screen, we're showing Phase 1 as that already approved section, and then Phase 2 is adjacent to it and then up to the north. As I said, part of the site is a 30-acre parcel that's just south of City Park. And then the other two parcels are in the donut hole. I will note here, because we're going to be talking about that annexation, that the annexation does result in a little island that is kind of outlined. I'm just going to explain. Okay. So,
Dana, how large is that island? Do you know? How many acres?
oh, I don't know, but
Okay.
I'm sure it's in the application and I will find out.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me just write that down. Okay, so we're first going to talk about the annexation. So there are a number of requirements in the city's code and in the comprehensive plan for what to do when a property is annexed. I wanted to read this part. Sorry, my screen is a little hard to see here. This part of the code that says the purpose of this chapter is to provide for the orderly transition and rezoning of land from abandoned urban growth boundary into the city limits and to ensure the requirements of boundary changes, the provision of public facilities, and the land use compatibility have been adequately addressed. So that's your charge this evening in reviewing this annexation. I also want to be really clear, because we did get a lot of public comments on the annexation portion of this request, that the only property included in this annexation is the property owned by the applicant. So no one else abutting this property is being annexed. To my knowledge, the city has never forced annexation. And I know from recent conversations, there is no interest in forcing annexation upon anyone who doesn't want to be annexed. So I just want to make that abundantly clear. Further, the Oregon Land Use Program requires that cities have an urban growth boundary with land available to meet a 20-year planning horizon. Cities are required by state law to consider requests for annexation and make a decision based on criteria in the code and state law. Just to be clear, again, being nearby and not wanting a property to be annexed isn't necessarily grounds for denial unless it can be found that an annexation request does not meet the criteria. So we're just going to always be coming back to these criteria. And I'd also like to note that annexing property from the urban growth boundary is a really normal and natural process in the Oregon Land Use Program. We just haven't seen it much in Bandon. We have not really seen a lot of growth in the time that I was here or even before then, but this is pretty common in other places. Okay, the code has these particular provisions. These are the standards for approval. And so one, the applicant has to submit a consent to annexation, which is just that they're agreeing to annex into the city with all the things that come along with it. They have to submit findings with the city's approval criteria. They have to submit a fiscal impact analysis, a zone and comp plan change amendment, which we're hearing tonight, a boundary description, and the associated fees. The staff report does provide a detailed consideration of each of these approval standards and finds that the proposal meets those standards. The one component that I'll sort of pull out that I think is worth further discussion is the requirement to have adequate facilities available. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm just losing my place here for a second. Okay, so the code states that unless the city has declared a moratorium based upon a shortage of water or sewer, it is recognized that adequate capacity exists system-wide for these facilities. There was a lot of discussion surrounding utility capacity and the Gravel Point Phase 1 decision, specifically around water. And our position as staff really remains the same, that our water master plan, our sewer master plan provide information in them detailing the city's capacity levels and our what we have to do over time to meet those. And that hasn't changed. So I will talk about it in a little bit, but I did submit into the record a memorandum from city staff, including our city engineer and public works director, to the applicant team about their proposed utility connections, which details that the city's systems have adequate capacity. Infrastructure still needs to be brought to and through the site, obviously, to meet their demand. So the approval standards within here are that the land has to be within the urban growth boundary. The proposal has to be found to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Land has to be contiguous with existing city limits. Adequate facilities have to be available. That's that one we just talked about. And then the proposal has to be consistent with the annexation policies in the city's comprehensive plan. So again, we went through all of that in the staff report, but I'm going to pause and see if anyone has any questions about annexations.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm clear. So the annexation is separate and apart from their plan for use of the land.
That is a really good question. I'm sorry, I should have said that up front. So the applicant applied for a consolidated application, which means they have 4 separate applications that we are reviewing all together tonight, but they are each individual decisions that the Planning Commission makes. So the annexation is one component of their request that is an individual application. So 30 acres, and I'll go back to this slide. So this parcel here is about 30 acres, and that's the annexation request, is to bring that into city limits.
And it isn't dependent on what kind of zoning they want or anything like that. It's just whether that should be annexed into the city.
Yes, and that's the approval criteria that are in there, that the annexation has to be consistent with those policies. One of them is that they have to assign comprehensive plan, or they have to assign zoning to it that matches the comprehensive plan, or they have to designate a new comprehensive plan map designation and a zoning map designation concurrent with the annexation. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can say it again. So the property within,
So it's not just a up or down, this 30 acres is going to be annexed, yes or no. That's not the first
I mean,
part of the decision.
it is.
It has some tentacles to it, like the zoning part.
Yes, I mean, the decision is yes or no, and if you say yes, you have to find that it meets all of the approval criteria. And one of, I mean, I can go back to the staff report, but one of which is the comprehensive plan designation. And so we can back up a little bit and say that cities have, for their entire urban growth boundary, which includes city limits and all of the land available for growth, a comprehensive plan designation that's a little bit more broad in nature. And then the city's zoning map is a little bit more granular. So there's like a controlled development area, and then there's controlled development 1, controlled development 2, that are the specific zoning areas within that.
Because for some reason I thought this was residential.
The land, yes. So we're going to get into that. So the comprehensive plan designation right now is planned residential and open space. And the request that they're making is to have a comprehensive plan designation amendment to controlled development.
So the annexation decision is linked to that decision as well.
It is.
It's all, okay.
Yeah. I mean, technically, my understanding is they're 2 separate actions that you're going to be deciding upon. But they are, you're right, I like the tentacle terminology, that they are connected.
So just as, you can't just say, yes, we agree, we vote that, or recommend that it be annexed.
You can, so I'm going to give you another.
And then say, but we don't agree that it should be, the zoning should be changed.
You can do that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, another example was the city has previously annexed land into city limits with the comprehensive plan designation not changing, and they did not assign zoning at the time that it was annexed, and they decided to leave that for a future decision.
Gotcha.
So they are separate but connected.
All right.
Yeah.
So I have a question regarding if we know, my perception is that annexation is never free. It's a matter of who's going to pay for it. And so if this project were to proceed forward, do we know what the cost to the city would be? And more specifically to the city's taxpayers?
I'm trying to think about how to answer this. So the applicant submitted a fiscal impact analysis, which they are required to submit. And the applicant will, or the applicant's property, right, if it becomes part of city limits, will then pay city taxes, will be subject to inside city water, sewer, utility rates, electric rates, those sorts of things. And so like, I'm trying to figure out what impact you're getting at that the taxpayers would cover for this property, because they are paying their own way once they're inside city limits.
Are they? They're, so the private entity that's requesting the annexation is going to pay for the entire thing in terms, including modifications of city infrastructure that are necessary?
So development, I mean, abandoned development mostly pays for itself. They are required to cover, if they're building any streets, that is at their cost, not the city's cost. If they're extending utilities, that's at their cost. The applicant is also required to pay system development charges, which are the fees for expansion of our utility systems. Chime in if I'm missing anything.
Okay.
Does that help?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay.
I was hoping you'd say $36.
Oh, I know. Dollar, I'm not sure I have that, but yeah, the city doesn't take on any costs.
Okay.
I have two questions. At this time, please, kind of piggybacking on to Gordon. Can the city set rates for developments such as this that are higher or lower than other rates that are set? Or is the city locked into the same rate, say, as I pay?
That is a good question that's likely beyond my pay grade. I would venture a guess that the answer is yes, but I couldn't answer that. And that would be a decision, I mean, do you want to weigh in? That's a legal question.
That would be a city council decision to the extent that it would be applicable for this development. I don't know that they would pay like a different type of utility rate than what is already in place currently.
So the answer is we're not sure
Correct.
at this time? Okay,
Correct. But that would be a council and city manager discussion.
okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say that I think now that we know we'll have another hearing, I am taking your questions down, and those that I can't answer, I will make sure to have answers for on
Great, thank you.
yeah, the next meeting.
And then my other question is on the annexation application from the applicant. They reference a island of county property. Can you explain that to us? Because I mean, it sounds like area not specifically annexed can at some point at the city's whim be annexed.
Oh.
Is that correct?
Yes, and I'm going to quickly answer Commissioner Norman's question. I think it was your question about the size. 17.86 acres is the island size. And so this is again where likely beyond my pay grade, but I'm gonna try to answer this question for you. There are a number of ways in which cities can annex property, is my understanding, and those are described in the ORS. Some of them are like proportions of like numbers of properties within a certain area. Some are based on, I think, taxes. I don't know, someone can answer this better than I can. But there is a way that you can annex property when the property is fully surrounded. A city can annex it. The city annexed Highway 101 a number of years ago. So the donut hole is already surrounded. So I just wanted to be clear that this island is now an island within an island. I joked with Jeff that it's not a donut hole, but it's a munchkin for those of you who have ever been to Dunkin' Donuts. We have another one now, but the city's policy has been to not force annexation upon people. So even though it is surrounded, I don't anticipate that would be a direction the city council would take.
But it could. And I'm not sure, and you referenced an island within an island. For this annexation request, it's all contiguous, is it not? So does this situation exist in this matter or not?
Yes, I'm going to stand up for a second.
Okay,
some properties right in here along
Yes.
Base Rock
Well-
Drive that are not being annexed as part
Correct.
of this. So these properties would be fully surrounded by city limits. But the point I was making was that the whole donut hall is already surrounded by city limits because of the annexation of Highway 101 a couple years ago.
So those homes technically could be annexed without their consent. Is that correct?
All the properties in the donut hole technically could be annexed without their consent right now. But again, I want to be
Listen,
very
because haven't we
clear, we're
always-
not doing that.
Haven't we always stated that annexation can occur in multiple ways, including consent of the people in the area?
That's correct. Yes.
But we're saying really they have no rights for annexation because they're already surrounded by city property.
No, they would still have to consent to annexation. So you'd still have to apply for annexation to be annexed.
I'm confused. So the people that live off of Face Rock that are going to be surrounded by city property, they could deny annexation?
They wouldn't be denying annexation. They're not being annexed as part of this request. So they would have to consent to annexation. They would have to request, similar to this application,
Okay.
they would have to make a request to be annexed.
So if they did not request that, they would not be annexed?
That's correct.
Okay, and that applies also to everyone else in the donut hole?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes,
you.
thank you. That was good. Good clarification.
I'm sorry, on the STDs. Okay. The system development charges. Is it not, I mean, the city doesn't have flexibility there, does it? I mean, there's stated system development charges and everybody gets charged the same. Is that not correct?
That is correct. So the system development charges, the city has a methodology by which system development charges are applied. We have a plan that details how we determined what how the calculations for system development charges were arrived at, and they're based on the city's master plans and the overall cost in those capital improvement plans that are dedicated to new growth. And so there's a calculation, there's a lot of work that goes in to determine what those system development charges are. In the city, we have if you want any details about that, we have water, a wastewater, stormwater, and a transportation SDC, each of which have their own methodology. So it's not that the same amount, that everyone pays the same amount, but that they pay the same rate.
Thank you
Yes.
for the clarification.
And those SDCs, at one time, I believe several years ago, there was a question about the methodology being used. Has that been recalculated and ironed out?
Yeah, and you were referring to the water SDC. So the city updated its water master plan in 2022.
Okay.
At which time the system development charge rate was recalculated. Because the system development charge had not been updated in about 20 years, the spread was large. So the city opted to phase it in over time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the annexation question real quickly. Our code actually does allow for an initiation by council of annexation. There are some approval criteria that are set out that the council is bound by. However, it is something that the council can put forward.
Okay, so there is that possibility.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Okay, so we feel good about annexations. Maybe not feel good about them. We feel good about understanding the process. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead here to okay, so to the comprehensive plan and zoning map amendments. So as part of the annexation, the applicant is requesting to amend the comprehensive plan map and zoning map designations, which are going to be reviewed now. So as you can see in this slide, this is the map that the city has to work with for what the comprehensive plan designations are. This map is from 1990. There are no tax lot boundaries on it. There are even very few topographical things to go off of. And so I would just say that it can be really challenging to read and understand. So what I'm going to tell you is my best interpretation of how we got here. And so and I'll back up, I guess, a little bit too, is that the comprehensive plan includes 13 broad land use categories that are organized into 4 sections: residential, commercial, industrial, and public and environmental areas. So that's how they're sort of like categorized on here. There's sub areas of each of those categories. This particular property that we're looking at today is where those 2 red stars are that you probably can't see right here. Which are sort of split into planned residential and open space. And to the best of my ability, the open space areas really follow the like natural topography and where the more wet areas are. So that's, in my mind, why it was designated as open space, was to protect those natural features. So the applicant requests modifying the designation for all 60 acres, so the 30 acres they intend to annex and the 30 acres that are already inside city limits, to controlled development. And I think it's important to look at the comprehensive plan purpose for controlled development, which says that this designation is intended to recognize the scenic and unique quality of Bandon's oceanfront and view areas and maintain the quality of Bandon's oceanfront by carefully controlling the nature and scale of future development in the area. It is intended that a mix of uses would be permitted, including residential, tourist, commercial, and recreational. Future development is to be controlled in order to enhance the area's unique qualities. The plan also goes on to state that unique natural features will be conserved to maintain environmental quality amid a mix of uses. In reviewing the applicant's request, we found that this designation is appropriate because it allows the continued preservation of open space while also allowing for certain housing and other urban uses. In particular, I think it should be noted that the planned residential's designation's purpose in the comprehensive plan is to encourage innovative residential development or large land areas where soil suitability for construction is varied, but where urban development is otherwise logical within the planning period. It seemed to indicate that this area made sense for planned unit development, which we're going to get into, but the master plan development is sort of a spin-off of that. So again, just to reiterate, the request here is to take this area from planned residential and open space to controlled development, which still allows for planned residential and open space, just in a different sort of umbrella. Any questions about that? I'm not going to skip ahead.
So is it accurate to say rezoning a CD1 increases flexibility?
Well, they have to, so I'll say 2 things. One is, I would say yes, but, so it sort of moves the flexibility around. CD1 allows for some commercial uses, whereas residential does not. The city doesn't have any mixed use zones really, other than the controlled development zone. So that was sort of a natural, I think, application for them to take. The one thing that I would mention is the residential zone allows for a greater mix of residential uses. So that's where the master plan development comes in to sort of bring both of those together.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you have a
Just a
question?
small question because I can't see the map.
Oh,
very
yeah.
well, but,
Yeah.
The open space, is that what would appear on our zoning maps as natural resources or?
That's a good question. I think even the park is so you can see just well, no, you can't see. You just told me. Sorry.
And I've looked at it
Okay.
in front of me, but
City Park is even designated as open space. So I think it's like anything that could be a public park or a protected area. I think there actually is a natural resource area, which would be, which probably corresponds with the natural resource zone like Johnson Creek, I think is what
Right.
you're getting at. Yeah.
okay.
I think those 2 are related. I'm sorry, I cut the map off here, so I can't say for sure. Any other questions about comprehensive plan and map amendments? So it'd be going from planned residential and open space to controlled development, and then residential 1 to controlled development 1, and assigning zoning to the 30 acres of annexed property that is controlled development 1. Okay. Hearing none, I'm going to the next thing. So master plan developments. Before we get into the details of the applicant's master plan development, I wanted to provide an overview of the MPD process because this is the first time we're in a public hearing to consider this type of item. Master plan development, I like to think of it sort of similar to an overlay, but prescribes a much more granular sort of level of detail, letting the planning commission, city council, and the public know what type of development will occur within this specified area that is also binding upon future owners. So it's different than a conditional use permit. You know, if someone doesn't want to do that next, they don't have to. In this case, once the master plan development is adopted, this is binding even after the property is sold. So I've sort of laid this out for you here, just so you know, this is not the only time that staff will, and the planning commission and the city council will review a master plan development. The first part that that you're considering tonight is the area plan. This is really a conceptual plan that provides details such as proposed uses, their locations, identifies a proposed utility plan and transportation network, adopts a set of architectural, landscaping, or other design standards, and sets siting requirements such as height, setback, and densities. So it sort of uses that underlying zone, but it puts a particular spin on it that makes it specific to this location. The next phase of development, if this is approved, or next phase of the project, is there's a detailed development plan. And that's where the staff will review that in a type 2 decision. And the reason why we've sort of recommended a lot of conditions of approval and that punt things to the next phase is because those are more technical in nature. And because this next phase can occur up to 5 years after the conceptual plan is adopted. We all know that things change in 5 years. Utilities might be expanded, other developments might come in, new things may be needed. And so those things like facility plans, geotech reports, traffic analyses, we want to do at the time of development, not at the time of just conceptualizing. The phase after that, so the detailed development plan is similar to a plan review. The applicant still would have to come in and do a zoning compliance application, which is their construction, pre-construction permit, and then still get public works permits. So there's many iterations of review of applications before anything is constructed. And I just want to make it really clear that tonight, the phase that you're looking at is the conceptual design. So there's still more opportunity to get more detailed. Okay.
Dana, does the conceptual design, when it moves forward, does any of that return to the planning commission, or is that?
That's a great question. So only if in a subsequent phase, the applicant wants to change anything in that master plan development, it would have to come back and go through the same process as before.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's essentially an ordinance amendment at that point. Okay. So the development standards are set forth in Bandon Municipal Code, Chapter 1620. And the way that this is done, the way that the application is reviewed is in a two-part test. The first part of the test is to ensure that the proposed development standards and proposed code modifications align with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan designations. And the second part is that they have to provide a public benefit. Does that make sense? I want to make sure we're really clear as we go along. Okay. For this part of the presentation, I wanted to review some of the code standards and modifications provided by the applicant. Staff listed these on pages 6 through 7 of attachment A of the staff report. These are the ones where the planning commission really needs to weigh in. The first is 16.08.040, which is a discussion on pre-planning for large sites. This is in the city's land division code, and it says that this section is intended to ensure that when a large site is subdivided, the city reviews proposals to avoid piecemeal development with inadequate public facilities. Staff really found that this is met by the master plan development ordinance, so it's sort of duplicated here. The applicant proposes that you can either find sections 1, 3, and 4 of section D here not applicable, or we can find that the section is already met by the standards in the master plan development, and thus this section is not applicable. Does that make sense?
What section again?
Sorry, this is all in the staff report and I'm just pulling these pieces out. So this is pre-planning for large sites. It's a requirement that the applicant submit specific information when a site is over a certain size, which I think is 40 acres. And so we felt like the requirement is met by going through this process and providing the master plan development, because the intent of that code is to avoid piecemeal development with inadequate public facilities. And sorry, if I have the presentation pulled up, I realized I can't pull up the staff report. But I will get out of the presentation if you want me to review it in greater detail for you. Would that be helpful? Do you want me to read the section that they're asking for?
No, you're saying 16.
16.08.040D.
16.0408.
08.040.
Skipped by the. Because I'm looking at the staff report and it starts with 16.04 and then it goes to 0.0408.
Sorry, it's within the section about master plan developments.
What page? Of the
I would have to get out of this presentation and pull it up, so thank you. No, sorry, it's 08. You're in the wrong section too. Okay. How about we come back to me on this and I will pull up more information on this one because
Okay.
you are interested. But I'll get through the other ones and then we can figure out what I have to go back to.
Okay.
Okay, so then 16.40 is the city's improvements chapter. This is applied again when there are subdivisions. These are the types of improvements that we look at when we are approving subdivisions. This area, the applicant is asking for exceptions to certain street standards, block lengths, land dedicated for public purpose, and building site size. These don't have any specific tie to the city's comprehensive plan. And can be modified by this code. Also, again, through the master plan development process, the applicant, like here's a good example, is the applicant is proposing to dedicate a community benefit parcel. So again, that sort of checks that box of the land for public purpose. So the applicant is requesting that these be modified through the master plan development chapter. How about, I'm going to go through them and then I will pull up the code and we can talk about them. 17.102.020 covers wetlands. This is a section where our code is actually inconsistent. There is one section that says that there are activities prohibited in significant wetlands, which would prohibit any structures, grading, etc. And then the next section says that it allows streets, utilities, that sort of thing. So this is a request to find that it would be acceptable to build streets and put utilities through those wetland areas when proper care is taken. Again, the Planning Commission is asking staff are asking the Planning Commission how to interpret this and make a finding as to whether or not that would be appropriate. The other thing is that we haven't talked about yet is transportation, which I know is a huge item that came up during the last Gravel Point Phase 1. And so I would be remiss if we didn't talk about it here tonight. The applicant has proposed a street configuration that provides another north-south connection there and also east-west. The requirement for the city requested or recommended a condition of approval for a TIA, a traffic impact analysis, during that detailed development phase, so that at the time of actual construction or development, the traffic impact and abandon is assessed. That might necessitate an additional connection out to Highway 101. So I know that that's during the last phase, there was a lot of concern about the impact to the existing neighborhoods along Seabird and Beach Loop Drive. So this additional development might necessitate that connection out there. We won't know until we get a traffic impact analysis.
Dana, I have a question on that.
Yes.
Why would the Planning Commission pass a recommendation to the city council without a traffic impact analysis statement delivered to the planning commission?
So the applicant submitted a memo sort of detailing right now, I think you probably saw.
I
it,
saw
right,
the
in
memo.
record. That details the number of trips estimated by each use within the master plan development. The full TIA scope wouldn't occur again until the time at which the impact is going to be felt, because there could be different streets at the time that they are going to develop. If it's 5 years from now, there could be different traffic patterns. There could be other developments in place. It would seem really unfair to do it now for conditions to change 5 years from now and then have that document be incorrect or
I
inconsistent.
don't understand. We have a master plan, but we're saying we don't really know what we're going to do for 5 years. So we're going to wait to do a traffic impact analysis. As you said, there was a lot of concern on phase one on Beach Loop traffic impact. Now we're saying, well, we have a proposal or we have a suggestion. We don't have a commitment. We only are going to see possibly more traffic on Beach Loop. So once again, I am not sure why the commission would not require a traffic impact study before they pass a recommendation to the city council.
I mean, again, I think it's because if you assessed it now, it could be different at the time that they develop. So the way that the master plan development code is written, this is an area plan, a conceptual plan. It's a code that is adopted, and then the plan review, the detailed development plan, can be undertaken 5 years from now. So like they have a 5-year horizon to actually develop the property.
So we would be referring this or recommending that the city council approve this conceptually. Is that right?
That's correct. And I would say too, if you feel like the information that the applicant provided to you this evening about transportation is insufficient, you should ask them for additional information. So the purpose of this phase is the sort of feasibility. Is it feasible to build this development? And then at the time that it's constructed is when you're doing that detailed analysis of the impact of on the city's transportation system.
I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I don't agree.
You don't agree with
I
it.
don't agree with that approach, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think the applicant's turn is next, and you can ask them for additional detail about the traffic, preliminary traffic studies that they've already done.
I would ask them basically the same question I'm
Yeah.
asking you, especially in lieu of the fact that there are different ways to interpret data. And I
Mhm.
think parametrics did the initial phase one and they're doing the phase two. So I'm not sure why we don't have an independent contractor to provide a traffic impact analysis that has no connection with the city or the applicant, to provide that data based on conceptual data.
I just want to clarify for the record that Parametrics has multiple sectors within their firm. And so the folks who did the city's transportation system plan are completely separate from the folks who prepared the studies for Gravel Point. But again, I think they'll clarify that for you as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I have sort of a transportation question.
Yeah,
You're ready?
I am always ready.
Okay. So I can't recall whether this was a city requirement, but it probably was a city requirement, probably a fire marshal requirement. But phase one was required to have an emergency vehicle access gate at Carter. Phase two, there's a proposed emergency vehicle access gate at Sunrise Place. Why?
I think that's a good question for the applicant. In discussing this with them during our pre-application meeting, I think that the desire was to limit the traffic into that, because you're talking about abandoned commons, right, is Sunrise?
Yes, but
Yeah.
also Carter, I think we're talking about Beach Loop, right?
Yeah, but so to not funnel all of the traffic from phase two through an existing neighborhood, it would instead go through the, and let me see if I have, yeah, so this one, if this is at all helpful. You're talking about there would be a gate here and that there's also a gate right there.
Right.
So that people in this area would come out this way. So you're right that it still affects Beach Loop and Seabird, but those are again collector streets in the city's transportation network that are intended to collect traffic. Sunrise is a local street that is not intended to collect traffic. And again, yeah, we won't know, I think until that TIA phase, whether or not a connection out to Highway 101 would be necessary.
So if you
Good,
have to
yeah,
have
yeah.
emergency vehicle access gates, you really don't want to put traffic on those streets. But you want to, in an event of an emergency, you want fire and police to get in there, right?
Or for the neighborhood to get out. Yeah.
Or for the neighborhood to get out, I suppose.
Yeah, we have a similar setup in other areas in town as well. The South Ohio neighborhood.
But does that suggest that in this instance, the Phase 2 plan has inadequate roads in order to move traffic? Or am I misinterpreting that?
No, I think that I think that the gate is intended to protect the Bandon Commons neighborhood from traffic in this area. It's not saying that there is an adequate street connectivity. Am I understanding your question right?
But you're still building a road up to Sunrise Lane or whatever it is, place.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had adequate access inside the 60 acres, then you wouldn't need an emergency access gate, would you?
I think that the emergency access though is for that neighborhood to get out to Beach Loop Drive quickly. The rest of the donut hole is not developed, so there's no other streets out there by which for these folks to leave.
Okay.
Am I answering? I'm not sure if I'm answering.
I'm not sure it's possible for you to have
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
May I ask a
You
question?
can also ask
No, I'm sorry.
about it.
What's that?
I said, I think this is also something you can ask the applicant about because this is their, it's their design.
Yeah.
Hello? Did you hear me? May I ask a question?
No. I'm sorry, you can't speak right now. We're in the staff report portion of the of the public hearing. There'll be a time for public comment. Okay, so just a few more, I'll get through these. I wanted to bring up, unless there are any more questions about transportation. Okay, housing, the project site, sorry, includes a couple different housing types that I wanted to bring up. They are doing 36-ish units of workforce housing, another 16 sort of more dense single-family dwellings near the retail village, and then there are a number of single-family dwelling sites that are large but that don't encroach upon the wetlands. The city doesn't really have many zoning or areas zoned to allow for dense housing. So this is sort of where a planned unit development would come in, where you sort of shift around land to allow a more dense area in one section and then a less dense area in another to provide for different housing types. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think that's an important component of their application.
So sorry, I have another question.
Yes.
You're being very patient, thank you.
I missed you guys.
So, workforce housing, that's a term that gets bandied about
Yeah.
a lot, and it means, one thing to one person and another thing to another person and another thing to a third person. What does workforce housing mean to you?
Ooh, well, the burden is on the applicant, so I think that you
No, I
should ask the
understand that,
applicant. But yeah, I mean, I think you're totally spot on that workforce housing can mean different things at different times. It's very different from a capital A affordable housing that meets a certain area median income level or percentage of area median income. Workforce housing is intended to just house our workforce. So in this case, the workforce may be folks who are working at the Gravel Point facilities. I think you'll have to speak to them about it. But I think in general, the workforce housing that we're seeing here in Bandon is like a missing middle housing type because it's too expensive to house our workforce in only single family dwellings. So that's where this particular master plan development allows for some flexibility in the city zoning code that would permit a structure like that.
Thank you.
Yes. Anything else? Okay. And then, I mean, sorry, we already really talked about utilities. I'm gonna grab this. I did submit into the record the memorandum that we sent to the Gravel Point team. Just wanted to, in case anyone had any questions, we did cover the tech memo that was provided by Parametrics. We reviewed that and provided them with some information about how they might connect into city services. This covers the water utility, wastewater utility, stormwater, and streets, and our proposals to include conditions of approval here.
Dana, I'll throw it out now, but it'll
Yes.
come up later. Why, once again, as with transportation, why would we make it a condition of approval and ask the planning commission to make a recommendation based on something we don't know?
I think that if you don't feel comfortable with the data that they've submitted, then we should allow the applicant to provide a response to that. Again, I think because this is conceptual in nature, they've provided preliminary data that shows that the level of service model requirements are not exceeded by their request. But again, if you feel like you needed more information, I would make that clear to the applicant team.
I don't doubt the applicant's information, but I think what I'd like to see, especially since we're continuing this hearing, I'd like to see city representatives appear before the planning commission and discuss with us in layman terms how they came to the conclusion that our infrastructure will support a development like this. Because I have a number of concerns of things that I've heard that I think we need to be addressed before the planning commission.
Okay, I will see what I can do about our engineering services here for the city are on a contract basis. So we'll have to see if we can get someone here.
Is that Dyer?
I'm sorry?
Dyer Engineering?
Dyer Engineering.
Do they represent all the utilities or just water?
There are city engineer, there are contract city engineering service. So they
So-
do review water, sewer, stormwater, transportation.
So they could discuss, I'll tip my hand here. They
Yes.
could, my understanding is the dredging at Ferry Creek Reservoir is not complete. Now, that's old information, so maybe it is, but that's a critical part of the city's water structure. So I'd like them to talk about that. My understanding is that I wanted to talk about wastewater too, because my understanding is the sewer system that extends from Seabird South on Beach Loop is past its useful life and is in danger of failing. Now, that may or may not be, I heard that from a former city manager, so that may have been rectified.
Yeah.
But my understanding is the wastewater would be flowing down or pumped from the station down off of Beach Loop at the old golf course.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
if we have a structure, so I think the city engineer should speak to that also.
I will do my best to get him here. I will say that Jeff and I were in a meeting with him last week or 2 weeks ago, and there was no indication that there was anything wrong with the Johnson Creek pump station. It was indicated.
It's not the pump station, it's the actual sewer line.
Yeah, so it was indicated to us that the city did a number of I&I projects, which is I'm going to forget, there's someone here who will know, infiltration and infiltration and something. But it's where stormwater gets into our sewer pipes and can increase the usage of the pump station. And so we did know that there was some infiltration happening. We have our peak numbers for January through April, I believe, is when it rains the most here, which is also when our sewer or the Johnson Creek pump station is running at the highest amount, and we're not anywhere near max capacity there. So I think that the I&I project covered some of that, but I'll make sure to get an answer for you regardless, but we'll try to get Steve here.
And this may be a question for our city attorney. What's the liability of a civil engineer if they purport that a sewer system is adequate or a water system is adequate, and it turns out their analysis was incorrect and the sewer system fails or the water shortage occurs? Is that a long drawn out litigation, or are they exempt from any sort of liability for a miscalculation of that amount?
Well, I think it depends. There's no real concrete way to answer that. I think that you will find on most engineers' signature lines, depending upon who they are working for, that there is a release and waiver clause at the bottom of their reports. There's always issues whether they were given all the information. I mean, that's a very difficult question to answer, but there are those clauses at the end of their report.
I've seen that.
where-
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So, there's always more questions.
Yeah.
First question
much.
is, this speaks to hearing from the utility departments. I think it was in the staff report in response to the application. One of the things that piqued my ears up, it said that the electrical department had no comment on the application. And I was very curious about that. Do you know why they had no comment?
I don't. I just accept the comments from the other departments. If you'd like me to get that person here next time too, I will see what I can do.
I would wonder why they would have no comment on the application, because I don't know anything about the electrical substation's capacity
Mhm.
to generate electricity. So I would want to know more about that.
Sure.
The second thing is, and I'm sure you would probably remember this. I don't know how many years ago it was, but I believe Dan was the city manager at the time. And it was summertime and the water level got kind of low out of the usual resources.
Yes.
And so he was, I think he was talking about needing to tap into some resources that the city didn't normally use. And I don't know what all the legal, mumbo jumbo was about all that. And I don't know if it actually happened, but I do know that that our water capacity at that particular time got pretty low, concerningly low, I understand.
I can't speak to the specifics of exactly what you're talking about, but this did come up during the last phase of this application. Just kind of I think the terminology maybe gets a little confusing. But so there's the overall system capacity. So the city's ability to make water, we have plenty of capacity at our water plant. The issue that you're talking about is our raw water storage, which Commissioner Frey was referencing with the city's dredge project. So, if we go back a little bit, when the city was developing its water master plan, it recognized a need for raw water storage because we pull water from an impoundment in Ferry Creek. The city came up with some ideas to do a reservoir to hold this water. They did a well study, and they also found the impoundment had gotten filled in with silt. So last year, there was an emergency action to dredge that facility. My understanding is that it's complete, but I'll get you an answer on that as well, which increased the city's raw water storage. So again, it didn't increase it, to the level that a multi-million-dollar reservoir would, but it did increase our raw water storage capacity. What doesn't change is that we still have the ability at our water plant to make water. We have capacity to serve the use.
So cleaning the silt out was nice.
That was nice. Yeah, that was good.
However, in the last, when was the last time the city increased the raw water capacity?
That would be at the impoundment. So when it was dredged, my understanding is that the raw water storage increased. But I probably should not say any more because I'm not as much of an expert on this item as someone like Steve Major would be.
Okay, I won't ask any more questions about it.
You're really testing my memory here. Good. Okay, anything else on utilities?
I wouldn't ask that question.
Just move on. All right. So the other part of the two-part test is the public benefits. The applicant did in their application list out all of the public benefits. So the master plan development code gives sort of a list. And from this list, they selected housing, mixed use development, preservation of open space and wetlands, environmentally sustainable development, and there is a community development parcel that would be dedicated to the city or some other nonprofit as part of this application. Okay, and I'm just going to go through some of the pictures. I think the applicant will probably go through these, but this is some of their housing products, their event barn, and that retail space. And so with that, staff recommend conditions of approval to require utility sufficiency and development plans for water, sewer, storm drainage, and electric during that detailed development phase. So again, that's the more technical level of review prior to development. We recommend a stormwater management plan that details how they will deal with water, a land division application for any of the subdivisions that are occurring for those residential parcels, more information about the dedication of that community benefit parcel and what would be on it. A geologic assessment review to the extent that it applies. There is a small portion in that 30 acres already inside city limits that contains a small section of high landslide susceptibility. If the applicant chooses to develop in that area, they would be required to submit for geologic assessment review, or they can submit for an exemption. We also recommended putting the transportation impact analysis into that next phase to ensure that the time at which you are reviewing it is the time at which this is being constructed. Also that the approval is binding upon all future owners, and that there is an expiration date in 5 years if they don't construct. So we've already done a lot of questions. I think we should probably keep it going to the applicant, but if there's anything else, I'm happy to take it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll move on then to the presentation by the applicant. And there's a 20-minute time limit on.
Okay, good evening. My name is Dan O'Connor. I'm with O'Connor West LLC, 670 G Street, Suite B, Jacksonville, Oregon. It's a pleasure to be here. I represent Sawjocks LLC, which is the owner of the property and the financial backing for the development. I'm sorry you kind of stole my thunder because I was going to have this presentation, but you guys, most of you saw it yesterday, but this is your opportunity for questions and answers. And so I just want to say, and so as a lawyer, I'm not going to speak too much about this part because really the questions that you want to talk to are the architects and the engineer. But Commissioner Frey, it's excellent.
I didn't see it.
Oh, I'm saying, well, you'll still see it. You'll still see it. But Commissioner Frey, you bring up an excellent point that, you know, in other jurisdictions where we have a development that could impact capacity of facilities, it is typically common that your public works director or contract engineer would be here to answer the questions directly because as the applicant and, you know, I represent a developer, there's always, skepticism on the information presented. And it's a difficult position where we have communications with the engineer. We're assured it's fine, but then social media and the rumor mill, and especially, you know, with the Orca submittal, where they attacked phase one with relying on the old 2003 water plan, a lot of misinformation out there. So I support the request that you hear it directly from your own city engineer. As to the TIA, two things. Why we don't do TIAs on master plan conceptual stuff, because it's based on ITE, trip generation manuals, big books, and that sort of thing. And you need to basically have the size of the use, especially on sort of commercial type uses, and there is a small commercial component here. You need to have those details figured out because a different type of use has different trip production based on those manuals. And the one thing that you may have missed yesterday is, well, I'll back up a little bit. The purpose of the TIA is when we do the analysis, then is the impact going to require offsite mitigation and so what we are proposing, and we've discussed with the city, is that we are going to pay for the extension of the road to Highway 101. And that's a cost of $2.3 million approximately in today's dollars. And with that direct connection, you won't be traveling out Beach Loop Drive. So it'll eliminate that impact. And at the neighborhood meeting last night, it seemed many people were very pleased that we were going to do that. We will work out the details with ODOT. I've already reached out to the regional manager about, what that would look like at the intersection. They'll show in some detail. We're going to go down 21st Avenue based on, we had many neighbors that were concerned about going down 20th. Also on 20th, there's a large wetland pond that, we want to preserve. So as the architects get into that, so I just kind of want to address that. That's why on the conceptual stuff, a lot of it's a feasibility standard to do that. With that, I am going to let the people that you want to hear from present, and I'll just reserve the right for rebuttal, please. Thank you.
I'm on.
Hi there, Chris Bell with DLR Group. I guess I'm representing our Portland office. We're going to bring up the presentation that half of you saw last night and the other half didn't, I think. So I'll try to be concise. Okay, if you'd advance, please.
There we go. Sorry, I was making it full screen for you. It should catch up. Nope. Why is it paused? Being paused. Okay, well.
So yeah, so I think traffic is a fairly hot button issue, one of a few. So yeah, the sort of the north, south, east, west connections through the site, you can see them there on the map now. So when we were discussing phase one, there was quite a lot of interest in could we connect out to the 101 more directly rather than using Seabird and that kind of thing. So this project gives us the opportunity to maybe answer that question, say yes to it. So the phase one sort of exits out. It's almost northeast corner, if you like, onto phase two here, and wanders up the site, and then we're taking Face Rock and going all the way across out to 101. The reason we're calling that a little tentative at the moment is not to not do it, but because we don't really know the exact alignment, because we need to talk to ODOT. Do they prefer 20th or 21st or whatever? So there's a little bit more detailed design work that we need to go through to get answers from all the right people to understand exactly how it works. But we're confident that one of those answers is going to be acceptable to everybody. So that's that one. And then going north, there's that connection through into City Park onto 11th. Right, this is one that's, we've kind of heard it from different people that they either like that idea or don't like that idea. I think we are probably not going to take a side in that, if you like. We're quite happy that the north-south connection gives us another north-south route through the neighborhood without waiting for later sort of developments to happen within the donut hole. And that's why we presented it as an option, because we thought it might go quite well for the interconnectivity of the neighborhood. If it's a obstacle, well, then it's an obstacle, and that's also going to work fine in terms of the way the site is accessed and works. So all of the parcels are accessed with some little private roads, but off of that, north, south, and east, west, sort of those white public roads, if you like. We'll come on to that in more detail in just a minute. Thank you. So I'm just going to walk down the site very quickly to show where the things are. So if I can, this will be kind of quick fire, Dana. So the next one, please. So this is 29 dwelling lots here, right? So that's those are the larger lots. They're more than an acre in most instances. There's a few smaller ones as well. The overall density of the site, right, you can tell is about a little less than one dwelling per acre if you're just doing the parcels. If you then load on the workers' housing, you're getting up to about 1.5, something like that per acre, which by comparison to an adjacent neighborhood, the adjacent neighborhoods would be something like 4 per acre. So it's a quite light touch residential density. Carry on, please. This is the community benefit parcel. It's about 1 3/4 acres, about that size. So that's where we'd be doing the housing, the workforce housing. If you could step forward. And then this is a sort of a natural amphitheater, a little dune amphitheater on the site that we just quite loved. So we thought we'd leave it alone. So I just thought I'd point out that we're leaving that alone so that people can wander in there and enjoy it. Townhouses are here. They're kind of near that sort of intersection in the middle of the site, so people can be a bit more walkable, sort of neighborhoody there at the center. Thank you. Then that event barn that we talked about is there, and then right just south of that is that sort of small retail cluster. 3 little buildings, could be 3 or 4 units. And then if we go down, this is a stretch of wetlands here, and the road alignment is meant to sort of straddle or align itself with the top of that kind of wetlands delineation to sort of minimize impact and that kind of thing. Next, please. And then that golf amenity that we've been talking about is right here. That connects over to the hotel site, and then there's no, you're fine, Dana, it's fine. And then the 12 units at the south there, which are again accessed from an internal road, not off Carter. Just like phase 1, we're looking at a sort of modern rustic coastal aesthetic. Thank you. And then here's those roads. Okay, so the hot pink, if you like, is the sort of the public roads that come through the site. The blue ones are private roads, just to be maintained separately. Oh, that one. And then there's a couple little yellow ones. There's that little yellow road near that dune amphitheater so that we can have some maintenance access to clear gorse and that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then a golf cart path, that sort of thing. The whole site has walkable trails as well too, right? So there'll be the ability for everybody to walk through the site, north to south, east to west, and all that. So that those will be open for everybody. Signage will be just like phase 1, not big illuminated boxes, a bit more downplayed than that, and a bit more subtle. And then zooming in, so the north end, right, there's the north-south main road, if you like. That little loop off to the side, we've pulled it away from the western boundary to give ourselves a little bit more landscape buffer zone vis-a-vis Bandon Commons. We've got one parcel that touches Bandon Commons and those 6 smaller ones that are just across that small road, but we are going to try and screen those off. We did think, because we've talked to a number of city people in the past, that the idea of that sort of being able to go away from the beach, there seemed to be some idea of that road connecting through at some point anyway when it was built. So we connected it through to give that interconnectivity. But we've also then said we put that same kind of gated approach to it, because we're not trying to deliver traffic through there, because that would upset people. So we thought we can give the benefit without giving the downside if we just make that connection with an emergency gate. Same thing we did on Carter, right? I think there was a lot of interest in the first instance. The Carter kind of continued through to Beach Loop. Then the neighborhood said, we think that's going to become a rat run, a little bit of a shortcut. So maybe could you not? So we said, yeah, we can then kind of give that sort of EVA gate as well.
So that was your idea versus the fire marshal or the city, or?
I don't remember who we spoke to in the beginning that gave us that idea, but I don't think we invented it. But it's been a while, so I don't remember who I spoke to about that.
Because I remember the discussion with Carter was didn't want to have through traffic on Carter.
Yeah, the neighborhood didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, carry on. There's the sort of neighborhood center right at the crossroads, if you like, adjacent to the church. Maybe there's some sort of synergies there as well. Again, the sort of retail or smaller buildings. We're trying to sort of cut things down into smaller chunks so that they sit in the landscape. All the sort of darker green you're seeing is wetlands that we're maintaining as is. And I think, like the street sections are a lighter touch as well in terms of trying not to disturb too much land as we go through. Thank you. And then down to the south, there's that golf amenity. There's a small sort of food and beverage and maybe like one golf retailer kind of thing in there, something like that. I think overall, all that retail stuff was going to add up to less than 5,000 square feet for everything. So it's a pretty small amount targeted at the people who are going to be here, but open to everybody.
So the golf amenity is how many holes?
Well, it's a, I don't know, you're going to be mad at me if I describe it wrong. It's sort of not, but it's like a pitch and putt thing. It's not like a golf course.
Okay.
And it's quite small scale, and it's just going to be a little bit of an activity adjacent to the restaurant kind of thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it could be anywhere. We circled the north here, but just a sort of a typical house, if you like. And then the townhouses just by the center there. Again, that event barn, I know we've seen these pictures already. I'm duplicating now. And then, yeah, again, that sort of try to fit into the landscape and cut things down, not big paved areas, all that kind of thing for the retail. Which is there, yeah. If we go back one slide, I think we got up there. So all of the, as I said, the sort of darker green is the wetlands area that we're preserving. Off the northeast corner of the barn, there's a small pond also being preserved. The blue that you see there is additional pond that we're going to dig to make water storage for that Gulf amenity. So that is not being fed by the public water system. Thank you. That's that Gulf site building. And then there's those amenities, little hitting bays. So you just sit in the hitting bay and have a little sport with your friends. And then I'm going to turn over landscape plan to you. How about that? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Darren Sandino. I'm with Parametrics. I'm the project manager here, and we've been handling the civil engineering part. And then also we prepared the traffic study. So I'll just run through the landscape plan here. Chris touched on a number of the highlights, but I think what you'll see here and you have in your packet is you'll see there's a number of different typologies with associated square footages on those. So it's color coded at this point. So I think just without belaboring each one of these typologies, I think, just to touch on our overall approach to this, very similar to phase one. Those of you familiar with phase one and phase two, they're categorically a little different and have different, features with them. So one of the things related to the landscape, I think is Chris had touched on too, is we want to have a light touch on this, just like we did in phase one. I think our story here is to really embrace the natural features here, provide minimal impact, and then, not really do anything that's going to come along that looks contrived. I think we want to stay really within the ethos of abandon and use those plant communities and things that the wetland biologist has identified on the site, local flora, and using those kinds of things in arrangements within these typologies to have something that looks like it's just part abandoned. And we're improving areas of the site, providing a little ecological uplift where we can, especially as it relates to improvement of the wetlands and some of the mitigation that we'll be doing. So next slide, please. Yes, so this may be hard for you to read, and that's good, because the little orange areas are the areas that we're impacting. So what you see here is, again, the wetland areas shown throughout the site, and in these little orange areas that you're seeing, those are the areas that we're identifying where we have wetland impacts. Like I said, we've gone to great lengths to avoid some of those. And I'd say right now, just for everybody, we've talked about the site being about 60 acres. Our wetland impacts are, right around 5% of the total site area. So, again, that plays into the story of the landscape plan and how, our ethos of the project again, and then how we're going to be addressing these moving forward. So next slide, please. Yeah, and so this slide is basically, we've talked a lot about the utilities. I understand, there'll be some requests here. There'll be some follow-up from Steve and others. But so what you're looking at here is possible utility water connections, sewer connections that are based upon city infrastructure, and then our plans for phase one infrastructure. I do want to say at this point in time that we have been working closely with the Dyer Group on phase one. We just received our will serve letters for phase one earlier this week, and so we continue that same approach with phase two. So we're familiar with the infrastructure in the city. I think it's best that we're following their lead on some of these things, but I do want everyone to know that we've been in close communication with them and will continue to work with them closely in terms of, not only our approach to this, but then also, they have a whole, as you all know, a whole list of, prescribed capital improvements. And so I think that, looking at both of their plans, they have a good handle on, anything that they would be recommending in terms of that would come out of the SDCs for the project. One last thing that I'll touch on too really quickly that you don't see here, but it will come up later, is our stormwater management plan, and that will go in concert with our grading. But I think, again, similar to phase one, we've worked closely with Dyer, specifically Steve, And instead of doing pipe in ground catch basins, you all have probably seen we have a separated roadside bioswale with a path. We're carrying that through into phase 2, similar theme. And I think really the story behind that is I in particular we've done a number of developments like that, and I understand the burden of proof is on us to prove some of that. So again, we're working through again, the modeling of this similar to phase 1 as to how we're going to approach those things. But I will also say it's probably come to your attention too that the developer is entered into a maintenance agreement for the public streets for both phase 1 and then also phase 2 for the maintenance of these. And so, we've been working again closely with Public Works, and we have enough understanding of this that it really doesn't provide any burden to the city, in terms of just having a maintenance agreement in place so that, we'll be, as the developer will be, our intention is to be maintaining those. So
I have a question. I don't know if you're the person to ask.
let's try it.
So, as I'm sure you're aware, the phase 1 application got approved after going through the planning commission, the city council, and LUBA. And I think LUBA referred it back to the city, as I'm recalling, with, I don't know if they were recommendations or conditions. I can't really remember.
Mhm.
Do you remember what those recommendations or conditions may have been, and have they been implemented?
I'm not sure.
Hop in for you.
Okay.
It was remanded back to the city because our findings did not cover a street vacation, some policies in our plan about street vacations. So we ended up, the city council adopted additional findings on those particular provisions about street vacations, and the LUBA case ended. The city council then subsequently held a meeting where they vacated those streets on the condition that they were replatted, meeting the phase 1 conceptual design.
So that's been resolved.
That's been resolved.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, there you have it.
Okay. Well, somebody answered the question, so that's good.
Okay. And that's really, I don't believe there's any more slides for me. So I don't think. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan O'Connor. And so, you have anything else, Chris?
I'm aware of.
Okay. I'm just going to touch on a couple things, especially on the north access route. Just to give you a little further explanation is, so initially we had.
Dan, I'm sorry, let me interrupt you.
Yep.
Sorry for a minute. We're at about 21 minutes, but some of that time has been spent answering questions, which I think would normally come after the presentation.
I think,
So I'd like to suggest that we allow the applicant as much time as they need to finish up their presentation, if that's all right with everyone else, and if that's allowable.
I'll be 2 minutes off.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So with that north access route, and originally we just assumed in our design, because I know Franklin is the designated north-south access in your TSP, but we would just assume that you'd want a north-south route. Say about 30 days ago, Dana, correct me if I'm wrong or something, it came to my attention the city was not down with that proposal of going into the park. And so we had some discussions, and then more recently we got feedback, wait, we might be, interested in having that access. And so that's, and it's no slight against the city, but in the development world, this is how you figure out some of the details, and as part of this master planning process. So we're working with the city. I know the park's going through a master plan right now, and so we're going to vet that out and get that figured out quickly. Want to make sure, because there was some confusion at the neighborhood meeting, is this site and the uses is open to the public. This will have the detached walking trail separated by bioswale with a multi-use path, and those are open to the public. The golf amenity is open to the public. The event barn is open for use by the public. This is not some sort of exclusive gated community. It's all open to the public, and the emphasis on this, so phase 1 is a much more intensive use, is clearly with the hotel that you guys went through. I was not in front of you then because I came on after that. And this is to complement that, to balance the site. That's why you see the extremely low density residential development. And the reason why we acquired this site, because you would look at it and say, well, this isn't kind of commonplace with the hotel use, is because a regional home builder was proposing to do 201 homes on this site, and that's why we moved in to protect the site. And so, yeah, and emphasize that we're going to build the public roads, and we have reached agreement on the maintenance agreement on phase 1, and it'll be the same agreement for phase 2, that the developer end user will maintain those roads, and so it will be no cost to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the council commission have questions of the applicant?
Well, just on that last comment that you made, so this is not like a homeowners association that's maintaining this and being assessed for like roads and the amenities and whatnot?
That's an excellent question. On phase 1, it'll just be definitely the end user, the hotel use itself. And to say, well, I'm probably don't quite have phase 2 figured out. If there would be, it wouldn't be, don't call it a homeowners association, because if there'll be a master declaration laid down, which is basically CC&Rs, but not just for residential, for commercial. And I cannot answer at this point if there may be a contribution requirement. It'll be part of their common area maintenance that you hear, like their monthly fee if you live in there. I can't say that some of those funds would not be used for road maintenance on phase 2. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Well, that seems kind of a contradiction when you say it's for public use but it's a homeowners association
Well, it's
paying for it all.
no, it's a public road. It's
I'm not just
it-
talking about the road, I'm
it-
talking about the other amenities, the golf amenity and the.
Well, those will be, those uses will be standalone uses, unrelated, mean the homeowners association, they will not be subsidizing
Okay.
those uses
Okay.
themselves. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a few. Thank you for being here and
Of
talking
course.
with us. Appreciate that. So in everything that you showed on the maps, I wasn't clear where the hotel, the 110 room hotel's going to go in relationship to the rest of these maps.
It's on the property immediately to the west, separate property to the west, down on towards the south end.
Closer towards Beach Loop.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Is it Beach Loop? Where's it face? Okay, yep.
Beach Loop.
Face Rock, south of Face Rock. Is that Face Rock Drive? Yep, south of Face Rock Drive.
There was a mention of a 35-foot building. What was the 35-foot building going to be? You wanted the height limits to go to 35 feet?
In the phase 2 application, or you're talking phase 1?
Phase 2, there was a reference to 35 feet.
Oh, that was the height.
Be able to.
Yeah, oh, and I did the phase 1. I cannot remember the exact, your code is a little, if you go over a certain height, there was like, you can do an administrative type approval for it or something like that. We just wanted, that's why we proposed a modification to standards to just be a straight 35-foot limit. No flexibility around it going over it, that kind of thing.
What did you see being 35 feet?
I hesitate to say this term. I was very clear with the neighbor meeting is the applicant is donating land as the community benefit parcel. And this is one example. And based on that, it is to help facilitate a development of an aquatic center. And so based on our initial design of that thing, but that is not what we are not proposing an aquatic center as part of this master plan approval.
Mhm.
There has been some community interest in an aquatic center. And we are going, this is how step one is we will donate some land in the initial designs that height of the aquatic center would was, I believe, 35 feet was the,
Okay,
yep. And that's where the kind of, and also I believe and one of the architects may be shaking their head and they can come, but on the event barn also, because you saw that'll be like a venue for weddings and receptions, and it'll be available to the public to rent and that sort of thing. Those are the two items where we're pushing up to that 35 feet.
okay.
And if you remember on phase one, when Orca, one of their big complaints is on that height when we had the living roof on top of the hotel, we had to redesign to reduce. And so that's why I just went the standard 35 feet.
So typically with this type of activity, there's a construction road put in for heavy equipment,
Yep.
for delivery of building materials and so forth for the workers. So where's the construction road going to be?
It will be going down 21st Avenue because we're going to build a city street to go to 101. And there's I'll give some more detail on why we have does it head north and connect, is because before ODOT lost their funding, there was plans for signalization on 20th. And so that's why we have the two routes, if you've seen the map.
Yeah.
But we are going to use, before we'll base it, and that's where the truck traffic will come in for construction off 101 to avoid coming down Beach Loop. And then when at the end of construction, the roads chip seal themselves, or that's just a path? There'll be the asphalt lifts would be put on after. So it'll be like the base of the road, the trucks come on. When we're done with the heavy equipment, which trashes your road, then we'll put the asphalt lifts on the road.
So from 101 to 21st for your construction traffic, I don't believe there's a stoplight there.
Oh, no, there is not a stoplight there. And ODOT will most likely will not let us put a stoplight there. And so we'll have the typical temporary, truck entering road flashing type stuff that you see like on logging operations all the time. When the truck comes in to come out, it'll trigger the flasher that's the kind of plan.
Okay. So in terms of the development of what you've been discussing tonight, you were talking about having a permanent connection using 21st Street to 101.
21st, but I'm just still going to clarify that at the entry point, call it within 300 yards or maybe a little more, it may pivot up onto 20th. It depends in really kind of ODOT would drive that ship for the connection. And so I'm in initial discussions with ODOT. Yep.
How much of an impact would that have on the donut hole?
In what sense?
In terms of the people who are currently residing in the donut hole and their property, what impact is that going to have to extend 21st Street from 101 all the way to your property?
I'm still not following. I mean, we're gonna be in the right of way. We're gonna put the road in. I mean, they can use the road. It's a public street.
Right.
And so it'll provide better access for people in the donut hole to 101.
Is this going to impact their property in any way?
No, it's going to be built, the street will be built within the already existing right of way.
Just two more questions. If
Sure.
that's okay. So one of them had to do with, so there's language throughout in various places, this application.
Sorry, Commissioner Freeland, can you get closer?
Sure, I'm sorry. Your chair's just so comfortable. All we need is a fireplace and, have a good time. Sorry. So in terms of your application, so throughout, there's interspersed references looking towards the annexation of the entire donut hole, that that would be something the city wants and will look favorably upon. And this is contained in your application. And in other places in the application, the applicant says they don't care one way or another about the annexation of the rest of the donut hole. They're just interested in having the property that they own being annexed, but they have no interest in the annexation of the entire donut hole. Is that correct? Did I
Well,
read that correctly?
in Kelly Marquez, my planner, we drafted the applications.
Mhm.
We are, as the property owner, we are requesting annexation of our property.
Right.
We have no opinion on whether other property owners within the donut hole want to annex or not.
Right. Because there was just language throughout which speaks favorably about annexing the entire donut hole.
No, not from us. I mean, I wonder if you're reading not our actual findings, but your annexation provisions from the code that it's not our findings, it's your code provisions on annexation that has that language in it.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I read through the whole thing. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's there in several places, actually.
Yeah, it's your code provisions. Yeah, not us. There's no hesitation in our position. We have no opinion. We're not trying to force anyone that doesn't want to annex in. I mean, the city's position is consistent with almost most jurisdictions in the state. They will not force annexation. And that's why you often have islands within large cities that still remain county property because there's just it's not a popular thing to do.
So the language that we're reading in this has nothing to do with your application. That's just comments by the city?
No, that's your code language.
If I might
Yeah.
hop in and just read, I think
Yeah.
that we had talked about this as staff, and I'll ask Jeff to probably hop in here too, but the city's code does say that initiation by council, so this is that part that Shayla was just talking about earlier, in the case of annexation where current or probable public health hazard, is it this one? Due to lack of full city sanitary sewer or water services, or lots proposed for annexation are an island completely surrounded by lands within the city limits, then you are, the comprehensive plan policies and the city's code sort of are not speaking together properly, but it seems to indicate that we want to annex anything that's an island, that the city should be annexing or consider annexation of anything that's an island. But again, the way that the code reads and the way that the comprehensive plan reads is different than how the city council has acted. So I think if you're reading anything in our comprehensive plan policies that seem to indicate that the whole donut hole should be annexed because it's surrounded, that's where that comes from. If that's helpful.
Something that you're interested in one way or the other.
No, because your right of ways are already dedicated public right of ways. And so we're not going to impact any, if we do the turn to the north around the pond because ODOT wants it, we may be forced to acquire some additional land from a property owner that we will pay for. And then we would dedicate that right of way.
The other thing is, what assurance, does the city have that you folks, once you start, this development, that you'll actually complete it, you'll finish it? Has a bond been posted against completion of the project?
We're not even close to that stage yet. It's like, and maybe I'll have Darren, you want to answer bonding once we hit construction, but we're not even on phase one, we're still in design, right? And so that's kind of a good question because I have seen, I always blame the dentist, that want to play developers, like where there has been, and I know there's performance bonds now that require that when you initiate construction on certain improvements, that you will bond that work. Yeah, condition of approval. Yeah.
It's customary to.
You better come up and talk to the mic. Yep.
I can just say this real quick.
Dave, say your name.
Yeah, Darren Sandino, Barometrics. So I do think it's customary in most municipalities when we get to that point, like Dan had said, that at least at minimum, the contractor is bonding for all of the public infrastructure. So that is one piece. And then I think it just is going to come down to, maybe again, what Dana or others have, that's in your code related to that, but I'm saying it's pretty customary that the contractor is bonding for those, public facilities, future public facilities.
So the bond would be something that would be requested by the city.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
And if I might, I mean, we can, if the planning commission is interested, we do have standard documents that we use for those types of things, and we're happy to provide them to you so you can see what sort of agreement the city comes into when someone is constructing public facilities in a public right of way.
So the city can require a bond.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Thanks.
Oh, of course. Any other questions?
I have some, unless someone else wants to go. And a comment, I think like within phase one, phase two is a very exciting development.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of fantastic features. I think you've done a wonderful job in both phases.
Thank you.
Just a few things to work out,
Yes.
I think, like we talked about earlier, but yeah, excellent job, I think.
Thank you. We appreciate
by
that.
you and your team. One question I had, and this might be more for Dana. and
Okay.
That is with the, I think it's 57, is it 57 approximately 1 acre lots for single family dwellings or?
I can answer that.
Good,
It's,
good.
it's a mix.
A mix?
It's a mix. It's, jump in, you have the larger lots up on the north. Then where you saw the event barn, and we maintain flexibility where we propose like, it could be detached, but dense or zero lot line, basically attached townhomes.
Okay.
And then as you move south, it's basically half acre lots. Yep. And then I believe on the far west up by the third to half acre lot. So they're larger lots. And so it's really to balance phase 1 and 2 because as you guys know, the hotel use it's a more intensive use, right? It's got restaurants, it's got rooms and villas. It's basically to balance the site.
Okay. And what would and this might be where Dana and Jeff come in, what would the procedure be if in 4 or 5 years, if you wanted or someone wanted to subdivide, say those 1 acre lots into 4 quarter acre lots?
I can answer that, Dana, if you want me to. They would have to, I would consider that a major revision to the
change.
master plan. So it'd come back to you and then council. And one thing, just so we're clear, is on my community benefit parcel, that's the parcel up north that we got workforce housing and then, I hate to say the term, but some sort of recreational facility open to the public. How about that? Is that it's going to almost have to happen is we will need to partition the community benefit parcel because with the workforce housing unit component. And so that will be a little update that we will add and we'll get you a revised map and it'll be kind of a tentative type deal. And then you asked a question about workforce housing, but you didn't ask it now. There is certain guidelines on actually what it is, and it's 30%. Workforce housing cannot exceed 30% of the median income for the area. And so then there's below that, and I think it's in the OARs where they define like low income housing and that sort of thing.
I mean, that's a nice segue too with workforce housing. I think I was trying to remember, I forgot to look up my notes, I apologize, but phase 1, I believe anticipated 60 to 80 employees. Does that sound about right? Right, thank you. How many employees do you see tentatively? I know we're still at the beginning. How many employees do you envision minimum at phase 2 if it develops as intended?
Oh, I'm thinking I'm gonna just reach here. This is just
Sure, ballpark.
with the full development, the retail, which I call resort retail, which is small scale, get an ice cream kind of, so you have to drive to town all the way. I'm just gonna throw a number. I'm gonna look at development. I say 20, 25, something like
Pretty
that.
low.
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that. And then just with the workforce housing component that you brought up is those will be dedicated, those units would be dedicated to employees of phase 1 and 2.
Okay.
And then if there's any availability, then they'll be open to the general public, but there will be a workforce, like you wouldn't be able to come, I make $1 million a year and go stay in one of our workforce housing units. You'd have to comply. Yeah.
And that was that about 37 units?
Yeah, we're thinking we're in the 35 to 40 range.
Okay. And that would be like 35, so you would say double occupancy, 70. It could service theoretically 70 employees, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
I'd split the difference on that one, but.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, cause there'll be, single units, then probably, I'm guessing, Chris, you jump in if I say something dumb here, but then there'll be some probably, I guess, like a limited number of family ones, a
Okay.
traditional type thing, so.
Okay.
Average median income.
okay.
Pardon me?
For the folks from workforce housing, percentage of your own income on housing.
You're on the workforce housing on the standard, your housing cost cannot exceed 30%. And it's on the standards that the state use, it's cannot exceed 30% of the median income. What you bring in, the median income for that region.
Region being Coos.
Where you are, like the
County.
city abandoned, it's like, yeah. I don't wanna
Okay.
go
Can
too
I
far.
hop in and help a little bit here
Yeah,
too?
thank you.
Yeah, so Dan's talking about it as being housing burdened. So in
Mhm.
Coos County, the AMI is about $83,000 for a family of 4. So you can't if you spend more than 30% of that $84,000 on housing costs, then you're considered housing burdened. So when they look at workforce housing numbers, they're trying to get housing costs within that range.
Right. And Bandon's about 63.
Well, the AMI
Lower
numbers
than
that
the
are
county though, right?
Yeah, the AMI numbers that are done are completed by HUD, so they're at a county level. My understanding from the census is that Bandon's number, I think in 2023, was around 72,000.
Okay.
Was the AMI.
And median, of course, is always an interesting statistic because I'd
Yes.
be interested to know, and I think that didn't come up last night at the school district meeting with the council, is of that, say 70,000, what percentage of that 70,000 falls below the 70 and what's above it?
Oh, are you saying like for housing? I guess that's what I thought you were getting at
And I
first,
think
was
that's
that
outside the scope of this conversation.
no, just
Statistics,
So-
yes, honey.
workforce housing. I think that generally the folks look at the AMI and then they try to go with somewhere between like 80 and 120% of AMI for a workforce housing range, so that you get that sort of spread.
Okay.
So you'd be looking at salaries that are a little bit below
Spoken like
$83,000.
a true accountant. then.
Yeah.
And one last
True
question,
fake
please, and this might be for Darren. The stormwater runoff. The one,
Just getting relaxed.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyway, go ahead.
This is on your memo.
Uh-huh.
It said that it's intended to be managed and treated on site
Mhm.
with the exception of higher concentration storm events.
Yep.
And is that considered to be, I think somewhere I read 20% or?
Yeah, yes, so I like to talk stormwater. You heard that maybe last night,
Okay.
but no, so I think really what we're doing and we're getting into it in phase 2, but I think the methodology would be the same. So I'll just talk with you real quick here. Is the city has a standard of modeling for a 25-year storm, so storm event. So what that means is, there's a book and it has that intensity based upon a region. And then we look at that, we look at the soil types. Phase 2 is a little different than phase 1, but phase 1, I mean, basically what we're doing, instead of when you look at traditional stormwater, curb and gutter, which we don't have, catch basins, it goes to a point source discharge. Way back in the day, it would just discharge out into the ocean untreated. So technology has moved along, and so what we're looking at is working the grading in.
Okay.
And these features to create, so these stormwater swales create storage outside of areas where we would be detaining water. And so, this is one of the things that we were talking about again in our tech memo for the street exceptions. But basically what we've designed into this is all of our low points in the system throughout phase one now and do the same thing for phase two, is when there's a certain event, water raises up, people say, well, hey, this is going to run over the road. What do you do here? And so we have overflows in each one of those. So when the water reaches up to a certain point, and we've run this to where it's gone over 100-year storm. We're meeting 25, but it didn't fail at 100. So basically the water comes up to a certain point, it hits a bypass, and then it overflows into designated areas for storage, wetland areas, or other lower lying areas that we've graded in for detention. But the point is outside of that discharge where like they used to do it a long time ago, where just pollutants were going out into the ocean or into a creek. This area has all been treated through bioswales. It's conveyed into these systems. And then really the idea is for our pre-development conditions of release, our post-development conditions would be similar to our pre-development conditions in terms of release of stormwater. So we're not just, letting stormwater fly, we're containing it on the site. So I give you a good answer? Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
So I just want to say to folks in the audience that want to give public testimony, we want to hear from you. We hope you'll stay however long this takes.
Are we done with are we done asking questions of our applicant? Because we will be going into public testimony if we're done. Everyone all done?
Yes, fine. Thank you.
Okay. I will now open the public testimony portion of the public hearing. Please hand me the sign-up sheets. Is that what we're doing? Or can she just call them? I'm not sure exactly how we're doing. Okay, I'll let June call them. And remember, it is a 3-minute per person.
Are you ready, Mr. Frey? Commissioner Frey, are you ready?
Let her roll.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kim Consul. Please remember to state your name and address for the record.
June, you told me it was 5 minutes.
Well, they have it as 3 because of the amount of people that are here.
How many people are on the list?
There are 6, and then we have a couple online still.
So 7
7
people?
people.
Recommend 5.
8, 9 people.
Yeah, I agree. No one's going to make.
Do you want to do 5?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
Can we do 4?
4?
Compromise and go do 4.
Okay.
My name is Constable. I live at 54914 Harrison Road in Midland. The Gravel Point proposed retail village is right next to my property to the west. Commissioners, please, I ask you to deny the Gravel Point Phase 2 consolidated application as written, or delay the decision to pass this on to the City Council for approval. This is a huge project. Please at least wait on any decision for Phase 2 until you see the results and effects of Phase 5. The applicant has proposed a change from open space and planned residential controlled development. I oppose this change. Keep it open space and residential only. Bandon needs housing for its residents and workers. This project is a resort for tourists. They want the zone change to CV1 to allow tourist-oriented commercial and vacation rentals. They don't mention residents in the description of the project. Also, the potential exists for a proposed MPD to be purchased and operated by a hotel motel end user. Therefore, the applicant desires for a hotel motel use to be a permitted use within the proposed MPD. This is a resort which is going to take business and workers away from existing businesses in the rest of Bandon. The plan also states the project provides multiple public benefits. That's an enticing sales pitch. The plan does not provide public benefits. Current residents abandoned. What would really benefit Bandon is housing the people who work here can afford. Within Gravel Point's wide range of housing, how much of it is within the $300,000 affordable range determined by the research done for the Bandon Joint Workforce Housing Project? That's the Dorothy project. There are no current platted streets or lots on the subject properties. They aren't changing city-sized lots for open space. They are taking open space full of significant wetlands and wildlife habitat and putting in retail buildings, another place to golf, workforce housing only for Gravel Point employees, and expensive housing likely intended for tourists and seasonal visitors. Due to the significant wetlands, there can't be conventional development there. That's why it hasn't happened. Any developer will have to allow for open space, be innovative with planning design of dwellings. As for wetland protection, wetlands across Oregon are protected by state and federal law. Almost the entire lot is wetland, which is lot 200. The other lots also contain wetlands, all which provide habitat to a diverse array of wildlife. There's a new pond half on Gravel Point property, half Jackson Road right away. Surrounded by trees, this pond is a crucial water source for wildlife, including blue herons, which are easily disturbed by people and fly away to the sight of humans. The proposed event barn is designed to be this pond till close by. The commercial use proposed will destroy the habitat of these aquatic birds and species of wildlife and existing native plants. Neighbors know that 60 acres has been used for recreation as a natural area for decades. The applicant's not creating this. The applicant states the proposed MPD has been designed in compliance with the TSP, which requires an eastward extension of Face Rock Drive through the subject property and its associated significant wetlands. Due to the requirements of the TSP, there are feasible options and locations for this proposed extension of Face Rock Drive to be established. This is not accurate. At the July 24th Planning Commission, location of the east-west connection was discussed. A commissioner quoted from page 137 of the TSP that an exact location of refined plan studies and locations. The city manager then confirmed that with parametrics who stated that a lot of studies would have to be conducted and are just illustrative along with delineations not being vetted. And conclusion said that these are only high suggestions, not exact to where the roadways would go. That means the road is to go through the wetland. The exact location for the east-west route was determined. At that moment, Commissioner Fry said, any TSP project would need further approval and public hearings. Last night at the Gravel Point, attorney said the connection from Face Rock to one is definitely construction traffic could utilize it. That's not in the public plans. Okay, there have been no public hearings about this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kim.
Rose Gates.
My name is Roseanne Gates, and I live at 87295 16th Street Southwest. And regarding Gravel Point, I'm not very good at this. Phase 1 has been approved, and apparently Phase 2 has been approved, but not for the average Bandon citizen, but for those that can afford hundreds of dollars for a few nights stay. Bandon citizens are what keep our small businesses going. Our community is made up of working class people and volunteers. I really ask you to remember the people that put you where you are, the people that live here, that work here, that love this place. And I ask you to please delay Phase 2 until after, or at least until Phase 1 has begun. We're putting the cart before the horse. That's an old saying. And this is not housing, affordable housing for the people that live here. I love Bandon. I want to stay here. I don't want this to become Carmel. And we're in an area that people from the outside are looking in and they are seeing the potential to become a Carmel. That's not really what Bandon wants. That's what multi-million people that can spend the money that we can't even dream of. So again, I ask you, delay this, at least until we see what they do with phase one, which is huge. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie.
Rita Buck.
Hi, my name is Rita Buck, P.O. Box 704. I've lived in Bandon for 35 years plus. We've got property off of Edna on Harrison Road. It's a shame. I also see Table Rock Hotel sits quite empty most of the year. I think twice I've seen it full, completely full. The rest of the time, not so much. There's about a herd of about 20 deer around the Edna area, and you're taking 60 acres away from them, as well as skunk and raccoon, fox, and as my horses found out, porcupine. Now deer, they can get aggressive at certain times of the year. What are these people living over there going to do when that happens? Or get skunked? So I'm kind of speaking up for the other residents of the donut hole. It's just, I don't see it really benefiting Bandon itself. I think we need to focus more on the people that live and work here and have been here for so long. And I don't see it benefiting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Tricia Clancy.
Would you speak into this?
Yes, please.
Your name and address, please.
Okay. My name is Tricia Clancy. I live at 87454 Edna Lane in the Donut Hole. I have lived in the area for 25 years and been a resident and property owner in the Donut Hole for several years. I think initially Bandon residents thought it was going to be a small development, but now with phase two, it has become clear it is going to be a huge resort of 80 acres within the city limits, just across the road from Face Rock. How will the city of this size, population 3,300 residents, cope with this massive resort? The strain on our police, our fire department, the hospital, not to mention all the extra traffic. Also, our utilities. Apparently, we have enough water and sewer for current residents and summer visitors, but now with the population levels going to increase immensely, hopefully it will be adequate. Plus, apparently in the past, the water and sewage plants have deferred maintenance and upgrade issues, but hopefully have now been fixed. Another big safety issue in town is fire protection, and the water flow in our fire hydrants apparently is low, and hopefully that will get sorted. These utilities and service issues are a big concern, and the resort will put even more strain on them. Of course, I was also concerned about the annexation of parts of the Donut Hole and the consequences of such a move. We are a unique area of Bandon. We have walking trails that I and other residents use daily. I walk my dog to the beach, to the park, to the library regularly on these trails. So, sorry, Gravel Point, we don't need you to give us trails. Plus, there are significant wetlands in this area that are natural habitats for native animals like the fox, the deer, otters, beavers, possums, etc., plus pairs of large nesting birds like heron and egots, this environment is going to be or could be totally destroyed. Then I became even more disturbed as I realized that this huge resort with its new roads crisscrossing the area would not just change my environment, but the whole of Bandon too. In my conclusion, do we, the people of Bandon, really want or need this huge resort? Our community is a very special one, and this such huge development like this is going to compromise the safety and the well-being of our community forever. Once approved, there is no turning back. Is it worth sacrificing our town for extra property taxes and transient bed taxes? I just hope the members of the Planning Commission and the City Council deny or delay this until more detailed independent studies not connected to the city or parametrics have been done, especially on the utilities. We need to get more feedback from the residents, perhaps even have a vote. Such a big decision. What is the big rush? Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia.
I'm sorry, I can't really read the last name, so I'm thinking it's Cody. Is it Heiser?
Yes.
Is it?
My concerns have been addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kent Howell?
Yeah, my name is Kent Howe. I live at 86-200 Lower 4 Mile down south. And I moved up here about just over 8 years ago. But we have a cabin on Croft Lake. So I've been coming up here my whole life. I was born in Coquille. I've seen Bandon change since day one. You know, it used to be a logging community and a fishing community. That's gone. That's gone. What do we have left? We have the natural beauty that we have here. I'm in favor of Gravel Point just because it's something that's coming into Bandon to support our schools, to support the public utilities, to support the roads, to support everything. I mean, we are a golf community now. Not by choice, but because somebody wanted to come in here and do it. Thank God they did it. So, oh, and the other thing, gorse. Donut Hole is full of it. Bandon burned twice already because of it. If a fire started and we have a north wind and it starts up in the north part of town, what's going to stop it? Nothing. At least Gravel Point, they've been taking out the gorse. I spray gorse here in town, and I've done it on several big properties around this development. And I've done it down at my own house, and that's how I got into it. And it's horrible stuff. We got to get rid of it. And this is one way of getting rid of it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Mary Carol Robinson?
My name is Mary Carol Roberson. I live at 687 Rogers Place, which is off of Seabird. And my question, I loved what I heard tonight, that there's going to be a construction street put through from 20th to 101, because that will help ease the mess on Beach Loop and Seabird and help with traffic control during the construction phase. But is this going to be done in phase 1, or is this not until phase 2?
Yeah, I can't answer right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just phase 1, because it will really help to keep Beach Loop and Seabird from all that heavy construction traffic.
The applicant has a rebuttal period and they can answer your question at that time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary.
Jason?
My name is Jason Yeomans. I live on what people think is Beach Loop, 7th Street on the north end. Anyways, we have had some dilemmas in this town that no one seems to be able to take care of. And that's the housing for the people that work. The original golf course out there, great. They promised a couple courses. We're pushing 7 or 9 now. There's so much workforce here, and no one's, well, other than Mr. Kaiser, he's put a lot of housing in on his properties. But the rest of the world doesn't have that access to that housing. That's one of the items. The rents are now pushing 2,500, brand new little apartments, not much, $2,500. We got to start addressing this. We are a town of old people now. I'm one of them. We're going to need help when we're old. We're going to need staff here to take care of old people. Okay, that's one thing. But understand these people aren't just working a job, going home, stretching their dollar as far as they can. They're working 2 jobs and 3 jobs to pay for these apartments. We need to keep pushing that motive forward. And when you bring in a big operation like this to an area, which I'm not against it per se, but we need a variety. We need a recession-proof thing that's going to, because we all know it, we've seen it, we're all old enough, the depressions and recessions. This town in San Diego, I grew up, golf courses all but went dead. Torrey Pines was dry grass in the 70s, early 70s. We got a lot of things that, with all of our expertise, me being a 50-year electrician, were very big jobs. Moved here for the quality of life. We got to keep going on this thing and not just keep promising and talking about workforce housing. Great that you're going to bring some housing for your workers, but we're still, and that whole piece of land, my point is, these people are still struggling. That whole piece of land could have ample room for, in the future, to put this housing for people. They're not, no one's coughing up land for that. And we just keep ignoring it. So eventually what will happen, all these lots and everything will get all developed. And then we still won't have the workforce housing. It just won't be available. And a number of $70,000 a year, that's very rare for anybody to get in this community. There's people that do get it. I've made it a few times. Had to work my ass off for it. These are, like I say, I'm literally talking to people every day. I really address this with young people. You gotta not ignore it no more. We gotta find ways to make this happen for them. And if big developers want to come to Tiny Town, USA, and build big resorts, they need to be more than just the system development fees attached to helping pay for that burden of making this workforce housing. These are proud people. A lot of them have been here for generations. And that man was right. When I moved here, it was logging, fishing. The fish plant's now a coffee shop, a great place. You know, these things keep coming and going, all these cool things, but no rents for under $1,000. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, if you don't do it, you watch. We're going to be in a hard way. And I'm not saying stop it.
Okay,
I'm just saying address it.
Vice Chair Kowski, that's all we have signed up in the building, but we do have some people, I believe, on Zoom.
Okay, you can recognize who they are.
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to speak, will you please raise the hand icon so we can see exactly who it is that likes to speak? Beverly, would you like to go first, please? Please state your name and address.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
It's a little soft. Can you speak up louder?
I'll see if I can turn it up.
Okay, thank you.
How's that?
Much better, thank you.
Okay, yes. I appreciate this meeting and I'm so impressed with everyone's comments and questions and the thoroughness with which this discussion is being managed and held. It feels really good to be listening. I've been a property owner in Bandon since 1981, and I'm currently living at 887288 Ruby Lane, and my name is Beverly Segner. I do have a question of clarification about the pitch and putt golf amenity. I wasn't sure what a golf amenity was, so I looked it up online, and it basically, a pitch and putt is basically described as a golf course with shorter holes. So my question is, how many holes in the golf amenity that would be part of the Gravel Point Phase 2? That's my question.
Thank you. And when the applicant has a chance to do the rebuttal, they can answer you then.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Kathleen, did you want to speak from Zoom? I guess not. That's the only one. We had several asked, but now only one wants to speak, so.
Just to double check, is there anyone else who was not testified who wishes to speak from Zoom? Okay. The applicant now has the opportunity to offer a rebuttal or closing statement.
Hello, Dan O'Connor again. Just to really, my rebuttal is just to answer some questions that were posed.
Thank you.
And so with the phase 1 construction traffic, that would come down I'm gonna call it the 21st route, just to avoid confusion, just because that's where the main route is on 21st, and that would be for phase 1 also. In the golf amenity, I knew this was gonna cause confusion with the golf amenity. The whole golf amenity is on 5.15 acres. It's a little hard to describe. They just did one in Medford. It's right in the town of Medford, and it's more like you have these bays, they're kind of facing towards each other. It's a little like chip thing. I'm sure they'll be serving drinks, it'll be open, family friendly, that sort of thing. It's like putt golf on steroids is all it is. It's not a golf course. It's not an executive golf course. It's, as you can see, this kind of circular facility, and that's what it is. And so that concludes my rebuttal, because I understand that we are going to continue this.
Yes, we have, we've been requested by the city has received a request from Orca to keep the record open for at least 7 days. Staff recommend continuing the hearing until December 11th at 7 p.m. in the council chamber. If approved, the hearing will remain open through that date. So I'm looking for a motion from a commissioner to continue the hearing and keep the record open until December 11th, if someone would so move.
Chair, I just want to, Chair, just a quick question. I just want to confirm that I understood city attorney correctly. By continuing the hearing, we will be accepting written comments through that period, and also oral presentations at the December 11th. Question and answers with our applicant is from the Planning Commission.
The applicant gets the final rebuttal at that meeting.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'll be out of town, but I'll participate via Zoom.
I'll make a motion that we continue until that time, but I believe part of that meeting needs to be with city representatives, city engineers, city representatives of the city utilities in order to present to the planning commission and answer questions regarding the adequacy of our infrastructure to support this development.
I know she already said that she was going to
Yes.
contact them. I'm not sure if she can guarantee that.
If they're not here, can we continue to our January meeting? Is there a limit on how often you can continue a meeting and leave it open?
Only because we've already noticed the January meeting for city council. We were trying to keep it in December.
Well, if the utility representative can't be here, there's no way the council, I don't believe the commission is in a position to recommend anything to the council.
Sure. Yeah. No, I was just going to say that's why we scheduled that December 11th meeting date. I think that's a few weeks away. We should be able to get this on their calendars.
And then we'll also have a December 20th meeting. Is that correct for the planning commission?
No.
That's, I think, on the calendar. I think it's the 20th.
No, we've
the-
canceled the December planning commission meeting. So we're moving that up so we can cover this.
So if we're unable to reach if the planning commission is unable to reach a decision on the 11th, obviously that we won't be in a position for the city council to take the matter up in January. Would it then continue over into the January 2026 planning
would,
commission meeting?
yes.
Okay.
And Tom seconded it.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
he actually.
So can you clarify what your motion actually is?
The
Because it
motion-
was really long.
Let's see.
Is it continuing with all of that people attending or just your
Everything.
everything?
Yeah, everything.
I watched the video.
Physical attendance, oral presentations, question and answers with the applicant. But the pivotal issue is representation from the city engineer and or other experts from the city to present to the planning commission the adequacy of our infrastructure to support this development and answer questions that the planning commission may have regarding that presentation.
Okay,
All that.
All that.
all that. Commissioner Orsi, you second?
Yes.
Thank you.
And
A vote.
oh, do you want to just say all in favor?
Aye.
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 Commissioner Pressler?
I said aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry, I was facing that way. Sorry.
I heard her. Okay, and now do I need to gavel that as the
Yeah,
end
you're
of,
done.
we're done with this hearing. Now we have to move on to, and anyone who needs to or wants to leave, should we do a 5-minute
I was
recess?
say, Commissioner, should we do like a 5-minute recess so everybody can kind of just get up
Sure.
and
And thank you, everybody, for being here.
everybody that
Thank you.
came.
No.
Well, we're here till midnight, right?
A minute recess, and we'll be.
Didn't we get a request to continue that?
I think we did 3 of these.
Okay.
Noise.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Not that stretch.
I have not even read anything on that was sent to us because
What?
the other was so much.
It was so.
It was so much.
The vertical.
Yeah.
I like those mics.
Did you forget to read that?
Right, ordinance, we are now going to have a public hearing on ordinance number 1675, goal 18, beaches and dune compliance, comprehensive plan update, BMC title 17 amendment and map adoption. And ordinance 1675, goal, I now declare this public hearing open at 9:31 p.m. This is an official public hearing before City Council Planning Commission of the City of Bandon on the motion to amend the text of Bandon Municipal Code. The zoning text amendment is initiated by the Planning Commission to update the municipal code to describe the purpose, to Jeff, where do we run go to for that? Describing the purpose of the amendment?
Yeah, just out of the subject line of the staff report will do, and I can repeat this too.
All right.
For my
Perfect.
bit.
Staff report you're looking for?
Yeah, goal 18, beaches and dunes compliance, comprehensive plan update, BMC title 17 amendment and map adoption is the fill in the blank part.
Right here, right here.
Okay. Sorry. Adopt all proposed amendments to the BMC chapter 17.77 beaches and dunes overlay zone and 17.78 hazard overlay zone is submitted by reference, and adopt the beaches and dune update into the Bandon comprehensive plan. Goal 18, subject is goal 18, beaches and dune compliance, comprehensive plan update, BMC title 17 amendment and map adoption. And the scope of the amendment, do I need to read that as well?
No, I'll get into that.
All right. So are we good?
We are. Yep.
All right.
Thanks. With me is Jason Kroll. He's staff member who's been assisting on this project. Also, Dana Nichols in the same role as she had provided for the previous item. Also on contract as a senior planner and also funded, I must say, by DLCD grant on this item and funded by developers expedited services fee for the previous item. So she is, we're getting the benefit of Dana's institutional memory, if you will, on the dime of others. So we're lucky to have her. So this is a type 4 procedure pursuant to BMC 1604-080, which means you guys, Planning Commission, are a recommending body to City Council. Our recommendation before you is to consider the record and recommend that City Council adopt all proposed amendments to the BMC Chapter 1777 Beaches and Dunes Overlay Zone and 1778 Hazards Overlay Zone as submitted by reference and adopt the Beaches and Dunes update into the Bandon Comprehensive Plan.
Okay. And then we have had a request for continuance.
Which is my next slide. We did get public comments. They were distributed to you by email and hard copies have been provided. One of which was a request to continue the record. So I have motions queued up for you in that event. Very similar to the last one, though. We will do a time certain to December 11th at 7 p.m. So that would be your motion and vote exiting the hearing on the item.
Are you ready for that motion, or were you wanting?
No. Let me do the presentation first, and then we'll take that in time. So I want to touch briefly on the scope of the amendment. This is in a summary right straight out of the staff report. So I'm going to gloss over some of the key components of it, and then be open for questions as you guys might want to dig into some detail. We did have this was continued from the last hearing, regular Planning Commission meeting. I did mention at that point that we are repealing BMC Chapter 1777, Beaches and Dunes. The new content gets folded into the existing BMC Chapter 1778 Hazard Overlay Zone, which incorporates the new Beaches and Dunes provisions, which I'm going to touch on here in my presentation. Primarily, that includes new development suitability categories, suitable, limited suitability, and not suitable for development to align with the new hazard mapping data. We further, we establish a permit review protocol, so type 1, 2, 3, that's based on that development suitability category. And I'll provide a table here for you to clarify. It also exempts minor activities such as maintenance, utilities, small excavations, and so on. Requires a great deal more in the way of certified technical reports be submitted, and also site management plans for implementing those technical reports. As mentioned, it amends the comprehensive plan and municipal code. I'm going to use an acronym throughout this presentation. It's called DOGAMI. That stands for Oregon Department of Geology and Mineral Industries. That references coastal geology and geomorphology data, which was the crux of the data that underpins the mapping. And I'll give you a demonstration of that in a bit. Essentially, what this legislation does is continue an existing prohibition of development within the beaches and dunes overlay. All it's really doing is changing some subcategories within that existing overlay, and I'll touch on that as well. All of the underlying permitted uses remain subject to the new technical requirements and the review protocol that I'll touch on. A type 1 process is going to be required for habitat restoration for lands within and abutting beaches and dunes. A type 2 process for development, such as new construction, substantial improvement, shoreline alteration, grading activities, with an accompanying dune area development permit. And all those types of development are defined. This table highlights specifically what the extent of these subcategories and or dune classifications are. There's the code reference in the far left column, the description of what that classification is, the development suitability group, and then the type of review. So ORS 307, which is actually now ORS 197-400, which is essentially the clear and objective standards for housing. So there's two types of review process. You propose housing, it's subjected to the development process in that column. If it's non-housing, it's subject to the type of review specified in the far right column. This illustrates roughly what the interface looks like at a county scale. You click on this and you drill into a site-specific description of what the new classifications look like. I think that it's a little confusing to see, so what I've tried to do is isolate what we've been focusing on as the crux of the real change at a parcel scale for this new mapping, which is the South Jetty area itself, and specifically this segment. What I'm showing here is the 1975 dune classification. A little tough to see, so I provided a dashed line which shows the 1975 beaches and dunes overlay line. By comparison, if you look at or overlay the 2024 dune classification, add that 1975 line in there, you begin to isolate the differences. And specifically, you'll see that sort of smoky taupe color called FD that kind of meanders in and out of that red line. I've circumscribed that with this red dash line and then isolate what it really does for new requirements at a parcel scale. So the conclusion here is that the extent of the actual overlay hasn't changed. But what has changed is the landform classifications and development suitability and review requirements for those or any development, either housing or non-housing, within those categories. It has changed. The net effect on the dune on the South Jetty is that 13 lots are impacted, 4 of them are vacant, 9 of them are developed with single-family dwellings. Of those 4 vacant sites, they all are developable still. They just require more technical analysis. What this doesn't include are the 4 Goal 18 exempt sites, which have been exempt because they supported single-family dwellings since prior to January 1st of 1977, when Goal 18 was constituted. So those 4 sites are somewhat exempt from this conversation, but they are not exempt from requirements to provide technical material to substantiate that they will result in no net impact to floodplain and associated habitat. So bear in mind that though they're exempt and we need to provide a clear and objective for housing on the jetty, the technical analyses are robust and the requirement for review is explicitly clarified. So it's a lot clearer than it used to be. Findings are summarized in the staff report. All statewide goals or the statewide goals that are met by this initiative are Goal 17, 18, and Goal 2. The Bandon Comprehensive Plan policies met by this initiative include the development regulations for Goal 18, which is Policy U, City Review Criteria Policy V, Erosion Minimization Policy W, Beachfront Protected Structures, which is Policy X. Of course, the clear and objective housing standards by state statute 197-400 are compliant here as well. And then also the public involvement measure 56 noticing was sent to some 4,000 affected property owners. As I said, we received some comments and those comments were handed to you as part of the record this evening. That's the end of my presentation. I do have some options for your recommended action tonight. If you need a prompt, happy to answer questions.
I have some questions on the Surfrider comments.
Yeah.
Do we want, are those appropriate now or?
Yes, absolutely.
Now? They talk about not exempting structural shoreline stabilization from a dune area development form. What is the planning or community development thought on that?
Yeah, I did neglect to mention that we do have a DLC representative zooming in as well. So if we get into some detailed questions, Rhiannon can help us as well. We did examine those comments in great detail, and I would like you to consider all of the comments, and particularly those that we felt that they were well-founded, and what was particularly refreshing was that there were constructive recommendations that came out of them. They weren't just critical. So I think it's fair to say that everything in every public comment, and particularly that one, I found engaging. So if you would like to see us examine that in greater detail, we can add that to record moving forward.
Yeah, I think we should look at that. Even though I disagree with their comment about setting a criteria as visual impacts are minimized, which doesn't seem to be clear and objective. So it's kind of like a roundabout on that. But it would be, I think, interesting to get some more information on that.
Bill, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I did send that letter to Rhiannon, our DLC rep, who's on. So she's going to weigh in on her advisement from that perspective as well.
Okay. And then the idea about movable structures was kind of interesting. So it'd be interesting to know what DL has to say about that.
Yeah.
Kind of a novel concept that it'd be interesting to know what the experts say.
Indeed. We'll explore those implications as well.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
For me.
So how do we proceed in regards to other?
You
input?
could simply make a motion to continue.
Continue.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do public comment, but we need to open the public hearing, close the public hearing, but there is the continuance motion if that's the direction you want to go.
Okay, I believe I did open it, didn't I?
Yes.
And then,
If I can ask, so we would continue the public hearing on this particular item. How does that serve us? What are we going to do in the interim?
we had a request for continuing it, so we have to.
So you would make some other modifications presumably, or?
Yeah, I'd entertain, or we would consider your direction as clear as Commissioner Frey's directive to examine that particular Surfrider set of comments and bring forward any recommended amendments to attachment 1. And if that's, so that would be new for you to deliberate. So we're adding to the record between now and December 11th, 7 PM.
Okay.
I would just say to the planning commissioners, do we want to piggyback this agenda item on top of the continuance of Gravel Point Phase 2? Are we going to have enough time to give people adequate consideration and deliberate among ourselves if we have, if necessary at that time, if we decide not to continue to January? Should we continue this to January and focus on Gravel Point, or should we try to do both on the 11th? What's everyone's opinion on that?
What is the legality of us already saying the December 11th?
Oh, no,
for the-
you can continue it to the right now to January 22nd, which is your January regular meeting.
I think then if that's the one we have flexibility with, if the commission wants to only address one thing at a time and continue
Well, we're,
this till
yeah.
January 22nd, then we don't have the flexibility with the other one. It's already set for December 11th.
We're assuming that there would only be one thing on January 22nd, right? We don't know if there's going to be, we don't know it's coming.
Yeah, there's nothing else legislative in the pipeline, so if it were, it would be a quick quasi judicial item.
Okay.
And this doesn't have the push because of the city council meeting.
No, this is totally self-imposed schedule.
Okay.
Then do we take a vote on that? How do we,
Yeah, make a motion and vote, direct staff to continue. And
and on that date?
yes,
Okay.
January 22nd.
All right. So would someone like to make a motion? Oh, do we open up to public testimony? I didn't ask for that yet. Right now?
Yeah, I don't. Anybody want to? Is there anyone online that wants to?
I was just wondering, because Sherry McGrath is the one who requested it.
Yeah.
And she was online. I don't know whether she's there now.
Yeah, I corresponded with her today. I took her comments, and
Okay.
I think she'd be happy if we were continued so that she could provide more comments.
So we just leave the record open until the 22nd, right?
Yeah.
Right, but let's make sure that there's no one, can we ask on Zoom?
Oh, apologies.
Thank you. Is there anybody, Eric Ringston?
Yeah, hi. Is this a public testimony right now?
It's public testimony for the beaches and dunes.
Yeah, great. I'll be really quick. Hi, Eric Riston, 3141 East Burnside Street, Portland, Oregon. I'm an attorney at Crag Law Center. I represent Oregon Shores Conservation Coalition and Surfrider Foundation. Happy to hear it sounds like everyone took a look at those comments. That's normally what we show up at these hearings to say is please take a look at those comments. So happy to hear they've been seriously considered. So yeah, I don't have too much to say other than that. I think you all caught already. We're really supportive of these amendments, appreciate all the great work that went into them. Just really encourage you to take a look at some of those different changes that we suggested, including especially the shoreline alteration standards that you already talked about. Yeah, again, really appreciate you all taking everything seriously. We'll probably see you at the next hearing. Thanks.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else on Zoom that wants to speak? Okay, at this point, I would like to know if someone would make a motion to continue the hearing until January 22nd, keep the record open until then.
I so move.
I second it.
Okay. So I'm going to call the end of this hearing at 9:50.
We need to vote on this.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I apologize.
I missed it.
Take it back.
Take a vote. Take it back.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Now I can say at 9:50 that this hearing is closed.
So you've closed it twice rather than closing it.
Yes, I did.
Got
I
it.
closed it twice. I'm sorry. You're right. Hey, at 9:50, you're asking me to be perfect.
I'm impressed.
Okay, so now we have new and old business, which says none. Community Development Director comments.
I have none for you this evening.
Commissioner comments.
I would just like to say, truly, you did an excellent job tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Under pressure.
Thank you. Nate.
Here, here.
And the regular chair needs to pay. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I've told you, he probably feels that way, why he let me do this. Okay, so I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
Oh, wait a minute.
I didn't notice, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, that's all right. Thank you for everyone that stayed, and for those who attended, I'm sorry everyone left, because I wanted to point out that the commission is obligated to render decisions based on law and code, not necessarily on personal issues about wildlife and what they consider to be encroachment on their personal areas. So
Not that there's anything wrong with
not that there's anything wrong with that. Here, yes, I agree. But it's just that it's not a argument that I believe we can use.
No, I
and
think the
decide.
comprehensive plan addresses some of that.
Really? You think? Yeah.
Yeah, we can deny petitions on
I mean,
dangerous
it's
stuff.
about preserving the wetlands and
The wildlife.
protecting
Resources.
wildlife.
Yeah,
That's
right.
all in the
Okay.
comprehensive plan.
We will see if someone brings that up from the commission on the discussion.
Did.
Okay, next month.
Next,
During
on the 11th,
during deliberations, yeah.
when you're not here, you'll bring it up.
Yeah, when you're not here.
Be up there.
Thank you.
Okay, now has everyone spoken that wants? Okay, I adjourn this meeting at 9:53 on November 20th,
Amen.
2025.
See, you worked very efficient. You got that, we started out really slow and you got this done. Yeah. At double time.
Oh, good. Double time.
It's gonna be 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's close. You have a feeling?